Chapter 33:14. Enlightenment. In the following days, Lin Ling and the other two lived in seclusion in the West Mountain as usual. It was as if they were not the ones who had humiliated Zhang Wujie so easily. However, in the Great Change Nebula sect, everyone knew that the three most terrifying existences of the Great Change Nebula sect were hiding in the West Mountain. It was especially so for Zilong and the others. When they thought of Lin Ling, who had entered the Grand Change Nebula sect with them in the past, and then when they thought of meeting him again, they would have to call him Martial Uncle. But there was nothing they could do about it. Who asked Lin Ling to be so strong? As for Zhang Wujie, it was obvious that he had fallen from heaven to hell. His reputation had been ruined, and he no longer had the face to stay in the Grand Change Nebula sect. Therefore, after being humiliated by Lin Ling for a few days, he quietly left the Great Change Nebula sect. The Great Simplicity Nebula sect did not say anything. Even the Great Simplicity Old Ancestor remained silent. Because, as long as there is me, there will be no other. Between Lin Ling and Zhang Wujie, even if he was unwilling, he still chose Lin Ling. Zhang Wujie noticed this silence as well, and could only leave with a cold snort. In fact, the Tai Patriarch's heart was still on Zhang Wujie's side. After all, Zhang Wujie was his personal disciple. But who asked him to boast that seniority would be determined by strength? Therefore, if he sided with Zhang Wujie, he would be too ashamed to face the crowd. Lin Ling must be the one who killed the realm-swallowing beast. The Tai Patriarch recalled everything that had happened to Lin Ling after he had joined the sect and laughed bitterly. He had been paying attention to this matter, but who would have thought that this person was actually Lin Ling? Sigh, I didn't expect Xing Shiyun to be the best out of all the disciples I've taken in. However, after thinking about Lin Ling's strength, he could not help but sigh. What a pity there's no world. When he thought of Zhang Wujie, who treated him with utmost respect, and Lin Ling, who had repeatedly ignored him, the grand ancestor of Tai sighed again and again. Lin Ling didn't know about this, and even if he did, he wouldn't care. To him, whether Zhang Wujie stayed in the Great Change Nebula sect or not had nothing to do with him. He just wanted to build up his master's reputation. Moreover, he had an intuition that his days in the Grand Change Nebula sect were numbered. Because after reaching the Saint Realm, for some unknown reason, he seemed to have an indescribable feeling towards the 9 prefectures and the chaos of the universe. It was as if he could vaguely sense the changes in the world. In Lin Ling's heart, a wisp of dense dark cloud seemed to be quietly spreading over, as if it wouldn't be long before a storm arrived. However, when Lin Ling wanted to see through this storm, he was blocked by thick dark clouds. And this was what he meant by an indescribable feeling. Shaking his head, Lin Ling did not dwell on this matter any further. On the contrary, he once again entered the state of cultivation. Although he had reached the Saint Realm, he knew that there were many people who were stronger than him, especially those who had the ultimate imperial court. These were not people that Lin Ling could fight against at present. Lin Ling pondered for a long time and decided to increase his speed in the realm of speed. This was because his intuition told him that it wouldn't be long before a catastrophe would happen. Therefore, he wanted to increase his speed so that he could preserve his life in the catastrophe. In addition, his teleportation ability of the space-time divine steel was also Lin Ling's hidden trump card. Currently, his speed was 100 world speed, which exceeded all the initial stage of the Sage Realm. Moreover, if he used the Wind Rain Myriad World technique, his speed could still be increased. My Wind Rain Myriad World technique is now comprehended by the Rain technique. If I can reach 10,000 techniques, I can increase my speed by 90 world speed. In addition to my own speed, I can reach 190 world speed. Lin Ling said with a confident smile. The speed of 90 realms allowed him to pass through 90 realms of the 10,000 realms in an instant. For example, if he wanted to return to the sacred land of the rainforest, he would only need a breath to return. To the warriors of the myriad worlds, this method was undoubtedly the method of God. However, to the warriors of the 9 prefectures, especially the sages and martial ancestors who were at the peak of the pyramid, this was just 10,000 techniques. 10,000 techniques. Lin Ling's eyes continued to flicker as the incantation of the Wind Rain Myriad World technique appeared in his mind. The wind and rain that I created spread over hundreds of trillions of Ganges sand worlds. Every world will transform into hundreds of trillions of bodies. Every body will carry hundreds of trillions of people. Return to the wind and rain, leave life and death forever, and enjoy nirvana. This incantation was extremely profound. It was a divine technique. The essence of this technique was to let the warrior transform into hundreds of thousands of wind and rain, blowing and flowing through every world. As long as there was a world and a place with wind and rain, it would be able to form a corresponding speed. The universe is chaotic and full of mysteries. A grain of sand, a drop of rain, a gust of wind, they all have their own value. They also hide many great Tao of gods. Perhaps this huge space is formed by countless great Tao of gods. When Lin Ling's 10,000 elephant demonic eyes appeared, he faintly gained a clear understanding. After all, his soul energy had always been strong, and after he'd attained the Saint Realm, his soul energy had gained an opportunity to become one with the heavens. This made him feel that he was getting closer to the peak of the 9 prefectures. Sage, martial ancestor, martial god, the peak of heaven and earth. I transform into the wind and rain and walk through hundreds of thousands of worlds. On the peak of the West Mountain, Lin Ling sat quietly like a stone sculpture, experiencing the 4 seasons. There was snow falling, rain falling, and wind blowing. He experienced all of them, making himself seem to transform into the wind and rain of the 9 prefectures. Such a scene was undoubtedly an independent and magical scene in the Grand Change Nebula sect. Of course, if it was someone else who cultivated like this, it would inevitably lead to a lot of ridicule. However, when it came from Lin Ling, people felt that it was very normal. Senior brother Lin Ling has been sitting on the peak of the mountain for a year. Yes. Yuru occasionally came here, wanting to consult Lin Ling. In the end, she could only watch as Lin Ling sat quietly and comprehended. A trace of admiration appeared in her eyes. Second brother's godly aura is getting stronger and stronger. Yes. Yes, I heard that a real god can defy the heavens and change fate with a raise of his hand, forming a great storm in the 9 prefectures and the 10,000 realms. That's because they have obtained the great Tao that surrounds the universe and know the core of this world. Yes. Sakura and Meng Lu also secretly said and envied Lin Ling for entering such a state of comprehension. However, they didn't know that in the east border, Lin Ling had already appeared in a place called the Origin Realm. He accompanied the local martial artists and chatted casually. It was as if he had transformed into the martial artists of this world. The martial artists of this world didn't know that the young man who was chatting and practicing with them was actually a godlike existence. Moreover, this kind of Lin Ling didn't only appear in one realm. He also appeared in the west border, south border, and north border. It was as if he had transformed into the wind and rain, nourishing the earth. Chapter 33:15. The undercurrent was surging. This was the combination of Lin Ling's illusion god true inheritance and wind and rain myriad realms. Countless illusory bodies, coupled with the speed of the myriad realms, allowed Lin Ling to reach every corner of the myriad realms in an instant. Sakura and the others didn't know about all of this and were still chatting. As our strength gets stronger and stronger, the world we enter becomes more and more mysterious. Especially after stepping into the Saint Realm, I have a feeling that the universe around the chaos is a combination of heaven and man. Sakura looked at the sky and said. Meng Lu nodded. The Sage Realm, the aura of a sage shrouds the world. Every Sage Realm will have this feeling. It's just a matter of how strong or weak the feeling is. Legend has it that the true gods are as famous as the heavens. They can defy the heavens and change their fate. They're already standing at the peak of the world. Yes, but this path is still very far from us. Sakura sighed. In the past, he and Lin Ling were both members of the Rainforest Sacred Land. At that time, the Rainforest Sacred Land was their sky. They never thought that one day, they would come to the Yen state and become a godlike existence in the myriad realms. Warriors practice martial arts not to be as famous as the heavens, but to surpass the heavens. However, at this moment, a smile suddenly sounded. Lin Ling, who was sitting quietly, slowly stood up. Sakura was overjoyed when he saw this. On the other hand, Meng Lu was frowning as he recalled Lin Ling's words. Warriors practice martial arts not to be as famous as the heavens. Yes. In the hearts of all warriors, the peak of martial arts was standing at the peak of the world. However, the true peak of martial arts was to surpass the heavens. Lin Ling's way of thinking is clearly different from that of ordinary people. Even my father often says that the peak of martial arts is also the peak of heaven and earth. However, my father is actually wrong. Surpassing the heavens is the true martial arts. Meng Lu felt as if the fog had been swept away and he saw the bright moon. He raised his head and looked at the distant sky. He suddenly understood why the heavens, the earth, the myriad realms, the people, and any other living beings existed. He just stood there quietly, but the aura on his body also quietly changed. It was the same as Lin Ling, and there was a faintly discernible aura of a god. Seeing this, Sakura was instantly startled, and Dream Flow became happy. Obviously, Dream Flow had also entered a rare state of comprehension. Lin Ling also nodded. Dream Flow's comprehension ability was indeed not bad. Perhaps this enlightenment would allow him to smoothly step into a new realm. On the path of martial arts, cultivation resources were indispensable, but there was another way to break through realms, and that was to comprehend. A sudden realization could allow the chaotic energy of the universe to invisibly envelop the martial artist's entire body, reaching the requirements for a breakthrough. Most importantly, this kind of comprehension could not only increase one's cultivation level, but it could also increase one's martial foundation, such as the ultimate martial Tao and so on. Unfortunately, this kind of comprehension could only be chanced upon and not obtained. For example, Lin Ling and the others were all at the great circle of the ultimate martial path and belonged to the cultivation of rank power. However, above the ultimate martial path, there were clearly great Taoists related to the chaos of the universe, and those were the great Taoists to become gods. In the following days, Lin Ling and the other two continued to live in seclusion and cultivate. On the contrary, in the distant new heavenly court, many people were welcoming a new member to join, and this person was Zhang Wujie. After Zhang Wujie left the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, he immediately joined the new heavenly court. After the welcome, a blue-haired man smiled and walked towards Zhang Wujie, asking, "Brother Zhang, are you from the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect? I wonder if there's someone called Lin Ling in your sect." This blue-haired man was Jin Wu, the expert who had exchanged blows with Lin Ling in the arena. However, because he had underestimated his opponent, his heavenly eye did not gain any benefits when it clashed with Lin Ling's divine eye. Lin Ling. Hearing this, Zhang Wujie's eyes flickered slightly, then he smiled and said, "Of course I know him. He's just my martial nephew. That guy repeatedly wanted me to teach him martial arts, but I saw that his talent was too ordinary, so I didn't give him any guidance." When Zhang Wujie said this, there was a touch of pride in his voice. He guessed that the blue-haired man knew Lin Ling because of the trip to Mount Heavenly King. He was very jealous of this, so he said that Lin Ling was worthless, and at the same time, used Lin Ling to raise his own status. Hearing this, Jin Wu was stunned. Then he shook his head and said with a smile, "Brother Zhang, I can understand how you feel. You said those words just to raise your seniority in the new heavenly court, so that we won't dare to look down on you. However, you've stepped on the wrong person." Ha! Hearing this, Zhang Wujie's expression changed. Because, after our investigation, we finally confirmed that Lin Ling is Lin Ling, who made a scene in the arena, and is also Lin Ling, who went to Mount Heavenly King. Jin Wu said solemnly, "What does this have to do with anything?" Zhang Wujie frowned. "I'm sure you know about the chaos in the Yen State arena, but other than the ninth god's eye, there's one person who's the real mastermind, and that person is Lin Ling." Jin Wu said word by word. These words were like a bolt from the blue, causing Zhang Wujie to stagger backward. He had always been dissatisfied with Lin Ling, thinking that Lin Ling was just lucky, but he did not expect Lin Ling to be so arrogant as to make a scene in the arena. "I know you're shocked, and I know the reason why you left the Grand Change Nebula sect. It's because you can't compare to Lin Ling, and you're not convinced. However, let me tell you, you can't compare to him, because he has another name, the Son of Demon." Jin Wu's expression became even more solemn. This was also the reason why he personally spoke to Zhang Wujie. Because, after continuous investigation, they were finally sure that the Son of Demon was hiding in the Grand Change Nebula sect. Moreover, to avoid alerting the enemy, the new heavenly court was already preparing a plan. This time, they had to capture Lin Ling alive. When Zhang Wujie heard this, he fell to the ground powerlessly. The Son of Demon. How could he not have heard of such a great name? However, this mysterious person whose name shook the 9 states was actually Lin Ling. He could not help but secretly merge the young man who did not care about anything and everyone with the Son of Demon. No wonder, no wonder. As the Son of Demon, he was indeed qualified to ignore the Grand Change Nebula sect. A disciple of the Constellation Nebula sect has such a great background. Zhang Wujie muttered to himself. He finally knew that he could never compare to Lin Ling. To put it bluntly, compared to the Son of Demon, he was actually a pile of shit. "Brother Zhang, don't worry. This time, the Son of Demon will not be able to escape. However, We still need your help. Tell us everything you know about the Grand Change Nebula sect. Jin Wu was not surprised by Zhang Wujie's surprise and laughed. All right, I'll do my best to help the new heavenly court. Hearing this, Zhang Wujie nodded heavily, and the cold light in his eyes was extremely intense. Chapter 33:16. Save People. At this moment, Lin Ling was still living in seclusion in the Grand Change Nebula sect. As time passed, his cultivation had reached the peak of First Heaven Sage Realm. He had a feeling that he would be able to step into Second Heaven Sage Realm soon. However, on this day, Lin Ling and the other two were shocked by a piece of news. Moreover, it was a request for help. Lin Ling, is it? I am young Master Wu Ji's maid. Young Master Wu Ji has been sent to the death row. I beg you to save him. The person who appeared at the West Mountain was a good-looking woman in her 20s. Originally, it was impossible for her to enter the West Mountain. However, she had specifically asked for Lin Ling. As a result, no one in the Grand Change Nebula sect dared to stop her. Finally, under the guidance of Yu Rou, she arrived at the West Mountain. Wangu Wuji? Lin Ling and the other two frowned when they heard that. The woman wanted to say something, but she seemed to have some misgivings. Seeing this, Lin Ling hurriedly sent Yu Rou away and looked at the woman. The woman looked very emotional. She then knelt down in front of Lin Ling and the other two. I beg you, please save young Master Limitless. What happened? After the battle in the arena, the Flare Emperor put pressure on the Wangu clan, believing that Wangu Wuji is also a member of the God Extermination Alliance. Therefore, he pushed all the blame on Wangu Wuji. Now that the Wangu clan has captured young Master, he will probably hand young Master over to the Flare Emperor in a few days. At that time, no one will be able to save young Master. What? Hearing that, Lin Ling and the other two's expressions finally turned serious. Meng Lu pondered for a moment before asking, isn't the Wangu clan backed by a martial god? Why are you afraid of Flame Emperor? It's not like that. Our Wangu clan does have a martial god behind us, but the current patriarch has always been at odds with young Master Wuji's faction. That's why the Wangu clan took this opportunity to send young Master Wuji to the 9 nether hells, so that he would never be able to rise again. Moreover, that martial god does indeed value young Master Wuji very much, but he is not in the Yen state. It is precisely because of this that the patriarch does not want young Master Wuji to grow up and affect his position. The woman continued to speak, causing Lin Ling and the others to look at each other. They clearly didn't completely believe the woman's words. However, the woman also knew that Lin Ling and the others would suspect her, so she hurriedly explained again. Young Master Wuji said that in the Yen state, only you can save him. If you stand by and do nothing, then young Master Wuji is dead for sure. Moreover, he said that he went to the underground of the gladiator arena with you and faced the attack of a black-haired senior. Fortunately, you escaped the calamity and used it to increase your strength. The woman's eyes became moist and tears flowed out of her eyes. When Lin Ling and the others heard what she said, they finally believed her. After all, only Wangu Wuji and the others knew that they had entered the arena. Just as you said, if Wangu Wuji is captured, with the strength of the 3 of us, we might not be able to save him. However, Meng Lu spoke cautiously. His words weren't without reason. As the #1 family in the Yen state, the Wangu clan definitely had countless experts. It would be difficult for Lin Ling and the others to save Wangu Wuji. Then what should we do? Young Master said that in the 9 prefectures, the only people he trusts are Lin Ling and the others. When she saw the troubled expressions on Lin Ling and the others' faces, the woman became even more anxious. Lin Ling looked at Sakura and Meng Lu and asked, I think this matter is most likely true. Are we really going to save Wangu Wuji? It was obvious that it would be dangerous to save Wangu Wuji. Wangu Wuji had only interacted with them a few times. Most people would definitely refuse to take such a risk for a friend they had met by chance. Lin Ling, you have the final say. Meng Lu shook his head and looked at Lin Ling. Although Wangu Wuji hasn't interacted with us much, we like him. When we were in the arena, we were pressured by the various experts of the Yen state. However, he didn't hesitate and stood by our side. Since he gave us face, I, Lin Ling, will also give him face. Therefore I plan to save him. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and said indifferently. Wangu Wuji was like this. He would treat others the same way they treated him. Although he would be climbing a mountain of blades and diving into a sea of flames, he wouldn't hesitate to do it for his friend. Sakura couldn't help but smile when he heard Lin Ling's firm words. This was the second brother he knew. Since that's the case, let's go together. Sakura patted his chest and said. Lin Ling smiled when he heard that. He knew that Sakura would definitely go. Then, Lin Ling looked at the young girl and asked, Your Wangu clan's current patriarch, is there anyone by his side? Who is there? There's Wangu Iyen. He's the son of the patriarch, Wangu Ishiong. The woman replied. How does the patriarch treat him? Lin Ling asked again. Young Master Iyen and young Master Wuji have always been at odds. Young Master Iyen has been beaten up by young Master Wuji since they were young. Because of this, the patriarch hates young Master Wuji. I think that the patriarch treats young Master Iyen very well. That's good. Lin Ling nodded in agreement. He knew that his side was no match for the Wangu clan. If he could capture Wangu Iyen, he would have the capital to negotiate with the Wangu clan. Where is young Master Iyen now? Last month, I heard that he was in the Saint Martial City in the south of the Yen state. All right, let's go to the Saint Martial City. Lin Ling immediately made up his mind. He planned to take Xiao Yu, Do Ying, Remnant Sword, and the rest with him. He had a feeling that his time in the Great Change Nebula sect had come to an end. That night, Lin Ling and the rest left immediately. The Great Change Old Ancestor naturally sensed it. He was very unhappy about it. He was the sect leader of a big sect. However, Lin Ling never told him where he was going and never paid him a visit. Lin Ling was looking down on him. The night was like water and the wind was cold. A few figures flew across the sky and headed in a certain direction in the Yen province. Young master, where are we going now? Do Ying asked the blue-robed young man. He also knew about Wangu Wuji's matter. His heart was filled with shock, but he didn't have any other thoughts. The Wangu clan was the #1 clan in the Yen province. Behind them was one of the top 10 martial gods in the 9 prefectures. Young Master Lin Ling wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. It was a bold move. Putting everything else aside, just one of the Wangu clan's martial progenitor realm experts was more than enough to crush Lin Ling's group. In the Yen province, even the Flame Emperor didn't dare to provoke the Wangu clan. Let's split up. You guys go to save Wangu Fengyun and the rest while I capture Wangu Iyen. As for Wangu Wuji, he must be heavily guarded. That's why we're going to save him. All right. Chapter 33:17. Jade Forest Tower. Wangu Yuhua was Wangu Wuji's servant. She nodded her head immediately. In the beginning, she didn't believe that Lin Ling and the others could do anything. However, she had no other choice but to ask for Lin Ling's help. Now she realized that Lin Ling was quite capable since Wangu Wuji placed so much importance on Lin Ling. Savage sword. Follow me. Next, Lin Ling held Xiao Yu's hand and brought the broken sword with him as they headed towards Saint City. Brother Lin Ling, are we going to kill people again? Xiao Yu asked curiously as she was held by Lin Ling. Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled and nodded faintly. In this world, sometimes we don't want to kill, but we will be forced to kill. I understand. Xiao Yu nodded as if she understood. Behind her, the crippled youth followed loyally. He was even holding a deer's leash. Clearly, Xiao Yu had acknowledged him over this period of time and allowed him to hold the deer's leash. He was Savage Sword. Even though he was surprised by the mission, he didn't have any objections. Lin Ling and Savage Sword were both in the first heaven of the Sage Realm. Their speed was fast and they arrived at the west of the Yen province in the middle of the night. An ancient city appeared in front of Lin Ming. This city was brightly lit, as if it were a city that never slept. High up in the skies, multicolored lights shot up into the skies. Within these multicolored lights were the phantoms of countless beautiful women, making this ancient city seem like a place where martial artists spent their money like dirt. Looks like a crazy city. Lin Ling looked into the distance as he floated in the sky. He smiled and landed on the ground with Savage Sword. He walked towards the huge city gate. The city gate was wide open as though it was welcoming everyone. After entering, one would realize that it was indeed a paradise for cultivators. There were pools of wine and forests of meat. The streets were filled with beautiful women who were trying to attract passers-by. These women were obviously cultivators as well. However, in order to become stronger they would sell some things. Of course, the price was extremely expensive. Yo, handsome. Are you interested in playing for a night? I have cultivated the Grand Convergence art. Not only can it increase your cultivation, it will also allow you to experience the pinnacle of life. Lin Ling and Yi Shiwen walked along the street. Suddenly, a gorgeously dressed woman came over. Her cultivation was at the initial stage of the semi-sage realm. These women were extremely beautiful. They were barefooted and wore dresses as thin as silkworms' wings. Anyone who saw them would be reluctant to look away. Moreover, if they were placed in the myriad of worlds, such women could be called fairies. However, Lin Ling was expressionless and ignored her. He held Xiaoyu's hand and continued to walk forward. However, those girls were clearly unwilling to let go of Lin Ling. This was because Lin Ling was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. It was obvious that he was a rich master. Even without money, with just Lin Ling's extraordinary aura, they were willing to throw themselves at him. However, even if they were willing, it did not mean that Lin Ling was willing. Scram! Behind him, the broken sword emitted a cold and indifferent voice. His body was suffused with dense killing intent. This killing intent was accumulated from life and death battles in the arena, and it was extremely dense. When they saw this, the expressions of those girls changed, and they didn't dare to pester Lin Ling anymore. Of course, this city was indeed chaotic. He had just chased away some flies when someone immediately chased after him and said with a smile, "Sir, I wonder if you are selling this little girl?" A bloated fatty appeared in front of him. His smile was very amiable and gave people a good impression of him. However, from the ominous glint in his eyes, it could be seen that this person was not a good person. Lin Ling looked at him coldly. He didn't understand what the fat man meant. It's like this. Some old monsters have always liked children. That's why I asked if you are selling this little girl. The fat man said with a smile. When he heard this, Lin Ling's expression became even colder. He finally understood what this person meant. It turned out that he had taken a liking to Xiaoyu. "I'll give you 3 breaths of time." Scram! Lin Ling said in a ghastly voice. "Young master, you must know where this is. This is a place of madness and chaos. Let me tell you, if you don't sell now, it won't be long before you'll definitely beg me to buy you." The fat man was still smiling, but his smile had turned cold. Obviously, he had faced these customers before. Some customers were very unyielding in the beginning, but when they encountered trouble in the city, didn't they come to him for help in the end? So in the end, not only did they sell the person in their hands, they didn't even get a single cent. Hee hee. After leaving behind an unfathomable smile, the fat man turned around and left. He knew that it wouldn't be long before this delicate young man suffered. Kill him. However, Lin Ling didn't even look at him. He held Xiaoyu's hand and continued forward. His voice seemed to be speaking to the darkness, but the broken sword behind him had disappeared. Not long after, when the fat man passed by a slightly pitch-black path, a dagger appeared at his neck. The fat man saw the person clearly. It seemed to be the guard behind the young man from before. Wait. Everything can be discussed. Everything can be discussed. The fat man hadn't expected that the young man would be so bold as to attack him in St. Martial City. Now, he had to think of a way to make the young man spare him. After the matter was settled, he had 100 methods to separate the heads of both the young man and the young man. If you want money, I'll give it to you. If you want women, I'll give them to you. Whatever treasure you want, I'll give it to you. The fat man spoke incessantly. Swish. Unfortunately, a cold light flashed as the dagger slit the fat man's neck. After that, a cold and indifferent young man walked out from the pitch-black path. To the young man, no temptation could compare to the orders of a lord. The streets were still bustling with noise and excitement. No one knew that someone had died on that path. Moreover, even if they knew, they wouldn't care because a huge amount of corpses were piled up in the dark corners of St. Martial City. Xiaoyu, is it beautiful? Ha. Lin Ling continued to hold Xiaoyu's hand as they walked forward, and he occasionally pointed at the gorgeous buildings and smiled. Beautiful. Ha. Xiaoyu was obviously very happy as she danced and giggled from time to time. Meanwhile, Savage Sword returned as well, and a smile appeared on his cold face, causing Lin Ling to nod slightly. However, he didn't ask any questions because he knew that Savage Sword was capable of doing such things very well. Go catch someone and ask where young Master Wang Guiyan is. Yes. At the same time, Lin Ling's voice resounded in Savage Sword's mind. Savage Sword didn't say anything and disappeared again. Lin Ling continued to stroll around with Xiaoyu. After an incense stick's worth of time, Savage Sword returned with everything he needed. It turned out that the Saint Martial City was backed by the Wangu clan. Moreover, it was the source of 1/10 of the Wangu clan's income. Wang Guiyan was overseeing this place. To the Wangu clan, overseeing this place was a good job because not only did no one dare to provoke the city, but they could also change beauties every day. They could get whatever they wanted. Jade Forest Restaurant. Lin Ling also found out about Wang Guiyan's whereabouts. Chapter 33:18. Who dared to say anything else? Walking along the main street, it did not take long for them to reach the Jade Forest Restaurant. Looking from afar, the restaurant was indeed huge. Its entire body was carved out of a giant piece of jade. Moreover, this was true young jade. Although it could not be considered precious, such an entire piece of true young jade was somewhat rare. There were 18 floors in the building, and every floor was brightly lit. It was full of music every night. Lin Ling stood at the foot of the tower and released his soul power. However, he did not discover any martial ancestor realm powerhouses. There were many sage realm powerhouses, but he did not take them seriously. Just as he was about to enter the building, the tyrannical song sword behind him suddenly jumped up. Lin Ling couldn't help but feel delighted because the hilt would only give off such a feeling when it encountered a broken sword. Looks like there is an unexpected gain. Lin Ling smiled and strode toward the restaurant. No one was guarding the door of the restaurant, as if anyone was welcome to enter. After entering, a fragrance filled the air, making one's body feel extremely comfortable. This comfort reached to the soul and cleared one's martial heart. At the same time, a devilish sound came from the huge hall. Looking carefully, there was a casino, a wine shop, and of course, endless beauties. This is amazing. This is the Supreme Light's strange fragrance. It is used by warriors to break through to the next realm and defend against their inner demons. However, if you absorb it, you will enter a dreamland where you are the only one in the world. It is comfortable, but it is harmful to your martial heart in the long run. A smile appeared at the corners of Lin Ling's lips. He used his realm essence to block off the fragrance. He finally knew why so many people came here. It was because as long as they came here once, they would not forget the taste and would want to come a second time. Therefore, the fragrance was also a kind of poison. I'll bet 100,000 royal crystals. I'm not afraid of you. 200,000. Because of the influence of the poison, the warrior's martial heart was cleared, so they did things very quickly. A large number of royal crystals were put into the bet, and in the end, the Jade Forest restaurant benefited. As for the side of the casino, there was a winery. Many warriors were also enjoying themselves there, hugging beautiful women, drinking wine, and talking about the world as they pleased. I heard that the Yen State Arena was destroyed and many people died. That's right, one of the 6 great god eyes of the universe, the 9th god eye, also escaped. Keske, that's a very ancient existence. The most powerful one is still the son of the devil. He was the one who broke the seal. I wonder where this son of the devil came from, to be able to create miracles time and time again. First he killed the god, then he killed the devil, and now he even dares to challenge the Flame Emperor. Bullshit. Who cares about the devil's son? He's just lucky. Compared to those geniuses from the Duan family and Wangu family, he's worse than a pile of shit. You're the one who's bullshitting. Take back your words. After drinking the wine and smelling the fragrance, all the cultivators were in high spirits. Without a word, they began to fight. You said I'm farting? One of the burly men stood up at this moment, and a powerful aura erupted from him. He took a step forward, grabbed the person who refuted his words, and abruptly crushed his neck. His strength was clearly somewhat extraordinary as he easily killed that person. As for the person who had refuted him earlier, his head tilted and he closed his eyes unwillingly. Haha, good. However, not only were the people around not shocked, they even let out a loud cheer. You said I'm farting? Do you want to die? Those voices made the burly man laugh loudly. He pulled out the decapitated head in his hand, poured the blood from the decapitated head's neck, and drank it together with the wine. This crazy action undoubtedly caused the mood in the hall to become even more agitated. As for the dead people, they were thrown to the side. But immediately, a waiter came over, expressionlessly carried the bodies, and threw them into the smelly ditch behind the restaurant. No wonder this place is so lively. It's a place where a bunch of scum gather. Looking around, Remnant Sword suddenly said coldly. In the Yen state, cultivators still couldn't do whatever they wanted, nor could they kill whoever they wanted. After all, many people had powerful backgrounds. But here they could. Perhaps it was because of this carefree feeling that people gathered here. You're so powerful. How many gods have you killed? How many devils have you killed? Just as the burly man sat down, another voice suddenly rang out. Everyone looked over and saw that the speaker was a thin and weak youth. Are you talking to me? The burly man looked at the thin and weak youth with a hint of a smile in his eyes. The people around were stunned. Then they all laughed. Was the youth stupid? Did he not see the burly man kill people before? If I'm not talking to you, do you think I'm talking to your dog? However, the thin and weak youth was very cold and said fearlessly, "Bang!" The burly man immediately stood up, his face full of ferocity. Another person farting in front of me? Pull out his head and drink his wine. Seeing this, the mood in the surroundings became even more demonic. Everyone slammed the table and became excited. Haha, I'm going to drink his blood. The burly man became even more excited and walked to the side of the chair. Swoosh! However, he had just taken a step when a cold light flickered over and the burly man stopped moving. If one looked carefully, one would see that a scratch had appeared on his neck. After which, fresh blood gushed out as if it was free of charge. I'm going to fart in front of you. What can you do? Not too far away from the burly man, the thin and weak youth was staring at him coldly. It was obvious that he had attacked. The burly man pointed at the youth and wanted to say something. In the end he fell to the ground. This caused the hall to suddenly become silent. Then, a voice like that of a madman rang out and it was as if they wanted to flip the entire hall upside down. It was obvious that seeing blood again had aroused the desire in everyone's eyes. Shut the fuck up. However, the youth seemed to be very unhappy with these people and his angry roar was like thunder. The hall instantly became silent as everyone stared coldly at the youth. Could it be that you want to control us? Finally, an old man who was holding a beautiful woman in his arms spoke in a strange tone. When he saw this, the youth did not waste his breath. His body disappeared and darkness descended as a cold light flashed with his dagger. Even though the youth was only at the first level of the saint stage, his strength was not to be underestimated. Thump! The old man held his neck and fell to the ground. On the other hand, the woman in his arms was so frightened that she screamed. However, after the youth spoke, the women did not dare to scream. Who else dares to speak nonsense? The youth looked coldly at the hall. He was incomparably domineering and caused the hall to fall into silence. However, everyone had been affected by the poison. Their courage was extraordinary and they were not afraid of death. Very soon, someone stood up again. I dare. What can you do about it? Damn it, I've never seen such an arrogant person. Chapter 33:19. Wan Guiyen was a piece of trash. In the crowd, Lin Ling saw this scene and shook his head helplessly. He was already heading to the second floor. At the same time he said faintly, Savage Sword, enough is enough. Let's get down to business. Hearing that indifferent voice, people realized that the cold young man seemed to be the young man's guard. This shocked them because the young man was very strong. Especially his assassination methods, they were simply impossible to guard against. However, such a person was actually someone's subordinate. What was the background of that young man? The hall was also dyed red with blood. Not long after, a young man covered in blood walked towards the second floor. In the hall on the first floor, no one dared to speak. There was only the gurgling sound of blood flowing like a river. Next, a large number of servants arrived and threw out the corpses. Not long after, the hall was filled with clamor again as if nothing had happened. In this place, human lives were worthless. There's no need to start a massacre. There are countless people in the 9 provinces and the 10,000 worlds. There are all kinds of people. Sometimes, even you can't kill all of them. On the second floor, Lin Ling stood there quietly and looked at the young man who was walking up the stairs. After Savage Sword walked up, he bowed slightly and said, "They're laughing at you, sir." Hearing that, Lin Ling was stunned. So this was the reason why Savage Sword attacked. He shook his head helplessly and said, "I don't care, so why should you care?" After saying that, he held Xiao Yu's hand and walked towards the top floor. Not long after, the three of them finally arrived at the top floor. This place was rather elegant. There were mountains and rivers, but there was no fragrance. Instead, there were sounds of laughter from time to time. Bang! But soon, the door of this floor was kicked open. Then, three figures walked in. There were quite a number of people on the top floor, about a dozen of them. They were all in the sage realm. They were surrounding a young man and drinking wine. The surroundings were filled with beautiful women, and they were all naked. At this moment, everyone was looking at the three of them in shock. Because the three of them were a young man, and a little girl. There was even a deer and a little white rabbit. What kind of situation was this? Shame, these sisters are actually naked. In the silence, it was the little girl who opened her mouth innocently. She even used her two small hands to cover her eyes, as if she was afraid that she would see something she shouldn't see. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone became even more confused. What kind of trash is Wangui Yen? However, the young man smiled and said indifferently. Everyone understood that the three of them were here for young Master Yen. Hee, I don't know why your excellency is looking for me. In the crowd, a young man smiled faintly and took a sip of wine. It's you. When he saw this, the blue-robed young man found a place to sit down and said to the young man by his side, "A total of 18 people. 6 of them are at the half-saint realm, 10 of them are at the first and third level of the saint realm, and the remaining 2 are at the 5th level of the saint realm. I'll give you the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn to kill all of them." "Yes, my lord." The young man nodded and looked coldly at the crowd. Then, he disappeared into the darkness. The crowd was dumbfounded. What's going on? 3 people suddenly appeared and wanted to kill them. Let's not talk about whether the 3 of them could succeed. Even if they succeeded, did they know who they had offended? The reason why the Saint Martial City had existed in the Yen province for so many years and no one dared to provoke it was because of the Wangu clan. As such, even martial progenitor realm experts did not dare to meddle in the affairs of the city. Swoosh! In their disbelief, blood splattered and one of them fell down. At this moment, everyone panicked and flew into a rage. However, the assassin was extremely powerful. He hid in the dark and every time he attacked, he would take away a life. Even a god would not be able to escape death. Why is this assassin so powerful? The young man looked at the scene in the hall indifferently and frowned. Could it be that he was from the Flying Dragon organization? He had heard that the assassins of the Flying Dragon organization had killed gods before. The Tao of killing they cultivated was the true Tao of assassination, and their methods were extremely powerful. Plop! Figures continued to fall, and the remaining people finally knew that the 3 of them were not joking. "Elder Lu, make your move." At this time, the young man suddenly said coldly. Behind him, the only 2 experts at the 5th heaven of the Sage realm nodded coldly. He has some skills. Looks like he's a rising star nurtured by a large faction. It's a pity that his cultivation level is too low. As long as we can capture his figure, he won't be able to withstand a single blow. The 2 old men were tall and short, fat and skinny. It was an extremely strange combination. After they walked out, they smiled disdainfully and their realm essence began to spread out. What was surprising was that the entire Jade Forest restaurant gradually shook. The crowd seemed to be under their control. As long as Broken Sword was still in the Jade Forest restaurant, his whereabouts would be exposed. Clearly, the talents of these 2 people had already reached the peak of the Desolate Body realm. Ka. Not long after, a terrifying thing happened. The jade pieces began to move and formed a hard box that slowly floated to the center of the hall. The box kept swaying, as if something was trapped inside. "Young master, we've caught him. It's a piece of cake." Seeing this, the 2 old men smiled and said, as if they had just completed a simple task, "All right, kill him." The young man continued to drink and was extremely confident. At the same time, the jade box began to shrink. It was likely that the person inside would be crushed to death. Bang! However, at this moment, a fist suddenly arrived and ruthlessly smashed onto the jade box. This punch directly shattered the box. The hard Zhengyang jade pieces began to scatter, gradually revealing the young man's miserable figure. It's not your turn to kill my people. At the same time, Lin Ling finally appeared beside the young man. This made the young man frown and stop drinking. However, he still waved his hand indifferently. Kill him. After saying this, he continued to drink. Clearly, he was extremely confident in his people. As for the two old men, they frowned. They had a feeling that this blue-robed young man was somewhat extraordinary. Just as they were about to take action, the blue-robed young man appeared in front of one of them in the next moment. He punched out, causing the void to explode. The momentum was extremely powerful. So fast. Upon seeing this, the tall old man's expression changed drastically. This speed was definitely above the 120 worlds. He wanted to block it. He was confident that his realm was higher and that the blue-robed young man could not touch him. However, when the punch came, he realized how terrifying the blue-robed young man was. Boom! He was directly blasted apart as flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Chapter 33:20. Kidnap. It's your turn. Another punch came. The realm-devouring beast and dragon bones roared. Not only was it fast, but it was also mixed with terrifying realm energy. Boom! The chubby old man was blasted flying, and he smashed against the hard wall. After that, his body exploded apart, and cracks appeared on the hard wall. A fifth heaven sage expert couldn't even block a punch. The whole process was simple, violent, and clean. As for the young man named Wan Guiyan, he held the wine cup and stood there in a daze. He didn't drink the last mouthful of wine. Don't be surprised. Since I dared to come, I'm confident that I can bring you along. He didn't dare to look at the blue-robed young man beside him, but the blue-robed young man had already spoken. Take him away. Next, the blue-robed young man walked towards the little girl. He held her hand and searched around. After finding a broken sword, the blue-robed young man smiled and slashed at the sky. Whoosh! The huge roof of the Jade Forest Tower was slashed open by the slash. Then, several figures left quietly under the night sky. At this moment, no one in the Jade Forest Tower knew that young Master Yen had been kidnapped. One could imagine that after daybreak, there would be a huge commotion in the Martial Saint City. Let's go to Big Brother's side. It's almost dawn. If they manage to save Wangu Fengyun, it'll be good. If they didn't, we have to speed up. Otherwise, if the martial ancestor of the Wangu clan arrives, we can only avoid them. At this moment, strong winds howled in the sky. Two figures were flying towards the distance. On the way, Lin Ling said to Remnant Sword. Remnant Sword nodded heavily. An excited smile appeared on his cold face. He was excited about what was going to happen next. You're all dead. Do you know who I am? Remnant Sword was also carrying a person. It was Wan Guiyan. At this moment, his body was bound by black vines. His talent and strength were greatly suppressed. This was Mini Kunlun. Mini Kunlun had the ability to display talents. However, it depended on one's talent. For example, it was difficult for Mini Kunlun to display the ultimate desolate body unless the opponent had no strength to fight back. Wan Guiyan obviously didn't have the talent to display the ultimate desolate body. Who are you? Lin Ling stopped and looked at him with a smile. Then may I ask who you are? Humph. Wan Guiyan snorted coldly and said proudly, I am the young master of the Wangu clan. My name is Wan Guiyan. Go ask around. Who doesn't know the name of the Wangu clan in the Yen province? That sounds amazing. Then, may I ask who the patriarch of the Wangu clan is to you? Lin Ling was still smiling. Hee, you're ignorant, aren't you? The Wangu clan's patriarch is my father. Seeing Lin Ling suddenly become easy to talk to, Wan Guiyan thought that Lin Ling was afraid. In fact, he felt that Lin Ling should be afraid. In the Yen province, even the Flame Emperor did not dare to provoke the Wangu clan. What qualifications did this blue-robed youth have? When he thought up to here, he couldn't help but smile. He had a feeling that this blue-robed young man would surely undo the vines on him and apologize to him. Pah! However, Lin Ling took a step forward, and a slap landed on Wan Guiyan's face without any hesitation. Since you're Wan Guiyan, I didn't catch the wrong person. After the slap, Lin Ling nodded in satisfaction. Wangu Yen was stunned. Knowing that he was the son of the Wangu clan's patriarch, this person still dared to hit him? Was he crazy? If my father finds out that you caught me, there will be no place for you in the Yen province. Wangu Yen said fiercely. I'm sorry, I just wanted to let your father know. However, Lin Ling said leisurely. His words gave Wangu Yen a fright. He thought that this blue-robed youth was crazy. Since we've said this much, let me tell you another piece of news. We're going to save Wangu Wuji, and you're my trump card. It's that simple. While Wangu Yen was still in shock, Lin Ling spoke again. Save Wangu Wuji. Wangu Yen's face changed when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words. Wangu Wuji had caused a ruckus in the battle arena, and he had incurred the dissatisfaction of the various superpowers. These superpowers were pressuring the Wangu clan, and Wangu Wuji was now the sinner of the Wangu clan. This young man wanted to save Wangu Wuji. Wasn't this the same as going against the various superpowers? Who are you? Don't you know that your actions are akin to throwing an egg at a rock? Wangu Yen asked coldly. You don't have to worry about that. Speaking of who I am, I'm just a normal person. Actually, I'm just an ordinary person. People call me the son of devil. Lin Ling chuckled and took large strides forward. Son of devil. Wangu Yen was stunned for a moment, but his heart shook when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words. Son of devil. This blue-robed youth was the legendary son of devil? How was this possible? If Wangu Yen had thought that Lin Ling was arrogant and ignorant, he no longer thought so. The son of devil dared to kill even gods, so why would he be afraid of a Wangu clan? At this moment, he was envious of Wangu Wuji because the latter actually knew such a big shot. In the sky, the rainbow pierced through the sky and headed in another direction. Not long after, a shocking battle broke out. Several figures were attacking an old man. The old man had white hair, and his aura was extremely powerful. He was in the 8th stage of the Sage realm. If such a person was placed in the 9 prefectures, he would definitely be an ambitious and ruthless existence. However, the old man was being suppressed to the point that he was extremely depressed. The people attacking him were 3 Sage realm cultivators. Although their cultivation realm was lower than his, their methods were extremely powerful. Who are you guys? The old man asked as he fought. His face was extremely cold. Last night, someone had suddenly broken into the prison. If he hadn't discovered it in time, those prisoners would have been taken away. What made him angry was that the culprits were only a few Sage realm cultivators. However, these people were too strong, and he couldn't take them down in a short time. On the other side of the old man, Sakura Skywalker and the rest were anxious. That was because the sky was turning white. Dawn was about to arrive. As if he knew their worries, the old man laughed sinisterly. I have to admit that you guys are indeed very powerful. However, it's useless because when dawn comes, this matter will definitely be discovered. At that time, a large number of experts will come. Ha ha ha, you want to save them? Dream on. He was extremely pleased as if he had eaten Sakura Skywalker and the rest alive. Such a piece of trash and you still haven't dealt with it after so long. However, at this moment, a grumbling voice drifted out. Sakura Skywalker and the rest were immediately delighted because this voice belonged to Lin Ling. Indeed, Lin Ling appeared with Xiao Yu. He frowned as he looked at the old man. A 10th grade desolate body and an 8th stage of the Sage realm. No wonder Big Brother and the rest couldn't take him down after so long. Another one who is here to die. Chapter 33-21. Petty Tricks. Young Master, he has the key to the cage. If we break the cage by force, it will attract the attention of the Wangu clan. Therefore, we don't dare to force our way in. Do Kening looked at Lin Ling and said. Lin Ling nodded and looked at the old man calmly. I'll give you a chance. Hand over the key and answer one of my questions. I'll let you live for one more day. After hearing this, the old man's pupils shrank. Let him live for another half a day? What a joke. This young man was also at the first level of the Saint realm. What right did he have to say such words? After all, there were 3 people at the first level of the Saint realm who had besieged him earlier, but they were still unable to do anything to him. Ha ha ha, are you here to be funny? The old man obviously wouldn't hand over the key. Looks like I can only let you live for another half a day. Lin Ling nodded. Without further ado, he immediately made his move. Because the longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Come on, this old man wants to see what you're capable of. The old man naturally knew that Lin Ling was about to attack, but he wasn't afraid at all. Moreover, his cultivation at the 8th level of the Saint Realm emanated from him, and it caused the sky to emit a fierce roar. Moreover, he didn't wait for Lin Ling to attack. Instead, he slapped out with his palm. The power of wind, rain, thunder, and fire gathered in his palm. Moreover, this was 80% of his rank power. Young master, be careful. The expressions of Do Huan-ing and the others turned solemn when they saw this. They hadn't expected that the old man would actually hold back against them. Otherwise, it would be utterly impossible for them to resist this attack. Moreover, although Lin Ling was powerful, his opponent was an 8th stage saint. They didn't know if Lin Ling could win. Petty tricks. However, Lin Ling slowly unsheathed his sword. His murderous aura transformed into a blood-red light, causing his entire body to reveal its sharpness. He slashed out with his sword. Small tricks. This old man has been practicing martial arts for 23,000 years, and this is the first time I've heard such arrogant words. The old man couldn't help but laugh in an extremely sarcastic manner. He wanted to break the sword with one palm. In his eyes, this was an easy task. However, only after the collision did he realize how terrifying that sword strike was. It was actually 70% of his rank power. Moreover, this level of power was extremely extraordinary. It was completely different from what ordinary people could use. Ah! He let out a painful roar. The palm strike that he had just unleashed was immediately cut off by the sword. What he didn't know was that as long as the ultimate desolate body did not exist, Lin Ling wouldn't even care if he was at the 8th stage of the Saint Realm. Insignificant tricks. Lin Ling wasn't surprised by the result of this sword strike. He floated forward. Because after the sheath had devoured the broken sword, its might had indeed increased once more. In your dreams. Seeing Lin Ling floating over, the old man's face turned extremely ugly. Behind him, a divine turtle that could devour wind, rain, thunder, and fire appeared. The turtle shell formed a powerful defensive barrier that enveloped the old man. At the same time, Lin Ling arrived. His aura was extremely powerful. It's useless. Without the boundary essence of a 9th stage saint, you won't be able to break through my green Suwa divine turtle. Unless you possess the ultimate desolate body, there's still a chance. Seeing this, the old man narrowed his eyes and said. However, just as he finished speaking, his pupils constricted. This was because he felt a terrifying pressure coming towards him. He couldn't help but raise his head. He saw a huge ancient tablet appear in the sky. It was mixed with colorful flames as it came crashing down. Ultimate desolate body. He let out a cry of surprise. Boom! Almost at the same time, the ancient tablet came crashing down and smashed the divine turtle shell into pieces. It couldn't even withstand a single blow. You're not an ordinary 1st stage saint. The old man's face changed drastically. The ultimate desolate body. This young man was actually in existence from the ultimate imperial court. However, his voice couldn't stop the sword from slashing down. In the end, the sword hung in front of the old man's neck. Insignificant tricks. At the same time, Lin Ling said indifferently. This time, the old man couldn't refute. This was because everything he had used against the young man was indeed insignificant. Where's the key? Lin Ling didn't care about the old man's thoughts as he asked indifferently. The old man gritted his teeth and didn't say a word. However, Lin Ling's sword moved a little closer, causing a wound to appear on the old man's neck. I'll give it to you. In the end, the old man panicked and handed over the key. After Lin Ling took it, he threw it to Du Kanying and the rest so that they could save the old man. Let me ask you a question. Where is Wangu Wuji? How is he now? Lin Ling continued to hang his sword on the old man's neck as he asked with a cold smile. Young Master Wuji is in the Wangu clan. I heard that today. The family head handed him over to the Flame Emperor. The old man didn't dare to resist and answered honestly. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. Not long after, several figures shot out from the ground. The people in the lead were Sakura and the rest, and Wangu Fengyun and the rest followed behind them. Of course, when they saw Lin Ling, Wangu Fengyun and the rest were extremely excited. They never thought that Lin Ling would come to save them, and he even succeeded in doing so. Lin Ling, we didn't tell anyone about your origin. Wangu Fengyun took a step forward and bowed to Lin Ling. When they were captured by their families, the family head had interrogated them about the identity of the devil's son. However, they gritted their teeth and didn't say a single word. Thank you, but there's no need to hide anything now. I don't think we can hide it any longer. Lin Ling chuckled as he spoke casually. After reaching the True Saint realm, he had a feeling that a calamity was approaching. Right now, he had a rough idea of what it was. He knew that he wouldn't be able to hide his identity as the devil's son for much longer. Let's not talk about this anymore. Wangu Wuji is in danger. If he is taken away by the Flame Emperor, it will be difficult to find him again. Let's go and save him. Lin Ling looked at everyone and said. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Spare me. I've already told you everything I know. You have to keep your promise and spare me. When the old man saw that everyone was about to leave, he begged Huang Xiaolong. I've always kept my promises. I won't kill you. Lin Ling looked at him and smiled. The old man's heart leaped with joy. However, Lin Ling continued, I've already said that I will only let you live for half a day. After speaking, Lin Ling grabbed the old man and led everyone towards the Wangu clan. At that moment, the Wangu clan was filled with joy. They were going to hand Wangu Wuji over to the Flame Emperor in exchange for his friendship. Everyone in the Wangu clan was under the family head's command. Wangu Wuji's bloodline had already been sent to the borders of the Flame Prefecture. Did Wangu Wuji say anything? A man in golden armor asked indifferently as he stood at the entrance of the huge mansion. He was tall and burly, and he had the air of an ambitious and ruthless person. His face was covered with a thick beard, and he exuded an imposing aura. Chapter 33-22. Assassin. Young Master Wuji is really tight-lipped. He still hasn't revealed the whereabouts of the devil's son. An old man who looked like a housekeeper bowed respectfully. What a reckless fellow. Even though our Wangu clan is the #1 clan in the Flame Province, the Flame Emperor possesses the strength of an ancient god. It wouldn't be good for the Wangu clan to offend him rashly. Wangu Wuji, that idiot, actually destroyed his battle arena. The family head snorted disdainfully. Forget it. Hand Wangu Wuji over to the Flame Emperor. The Flame Emperor will naturally have a way to make him talk. Furthermore, the Flame Emperor will owe us a favor. Family head is wise. The housekeeper immediately flattered. Don't let the old ancestor know about this matter for now. Otherwise, there will be more problems. After Wangu Wuji dies, we will think of a way to tell the old ancestor. I believe that even if the old ancestor is angry, he won't blame us too much. After all, we are still his bloodline. The family head said. The old ancestor was one of the 10 great martial gods of the 9 prefectures. He was also the person behind the scenes of the Wangu clan. Also, inform the young master to come back immediately. The Flame Province is in a mess right now. I heard that the new Heavenly Court is about to make a big move. Tell the young master to come back and lie low for a while. Yes, that family head said again, and that housekeeper immediately obeyed the order and left. Bring Wangu Wuji out and prepare to go to Flame City. Yes. In the next moment, the Wangu clan's patriarch shouted, and the entire Wangu clan burst into an uproar. War horses roared. Huge battleships flew across the sky, and all sorts of palaces appeared beside them to protect them. Woof woof woof. Woof woof. The Wangu clan's divine hound let out an earth-shattering bark. As expected of the #1 clan in the Flame Province, the Wangu clan was extremely extravagant. Everyone in the vicinity was alarmed. 8 cities in a row seemed to be in turmoil. What's going on? Is the Wangu clan going to make a big move? I heard that they are going to hand young Master Wuji over to the Flame Emperor. Isn't this a little too extravagant? Are they afraid that someone will snatch him away? In the nearby huge cities, people were exclaiming, especially when they heard the barking of the divine dog and saw the steel battleships in the sky. Their hearts continued to roar. With such extravagance, no one would dare to snatch him away unless they are a fool. More people said affirmatively. Then, they saw the huge group of people moving into the distance with their own eyes. Fallen Leaf City was Wangu Wuji was handed over. The Wangu clan, the Flame Emperor had, and the Emperor was the Heavenly Court was Wangu. The Wangu clan's Heavenly Court was Wang Wuji was the Heavenly Court of the Heavenly Court clan Wuji Wuji. Not long after, thunderous booms came from afar, causing everyone in the city to look up. They saw a large patch of dark clouds rolling over from the horizon. Upon closer inspection, those were not dark clouds, but countless strong cultivators. Wuji 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 wo what was Wuji Wu? Most importantly, the Wangu clan's divine hound was leading the way majestically. They're here. In Fallen Leaf City, an old man smiled. He was wearing a luxurious robe. Although his cultivation was not high, his aura was extraordinary. He was the Flame Emperor's envoy. Open the city gates. Everyone, come with me to welcome them. The old man took a big step forward and led the way. The entire Fallen Leaf City's people also followed out, preparing to welcome the Wangu clan's people with the best etiquette. Not long after, everyone arrived at the city gates. The majestic army in the sky landed on the ground, and a man walked over with a smile on his face. Sorry, I'm late. The man's voice was hearty, and he laughed as he walked. It's fine. The Wangu clan head is a nosy person. It's understandable that you're late. The old man replied with a smile and looked at the huge army behind him. When he saw Wangu Wuji, he finally relaxed. This time, the Flame Emperor had put him in charge of receiving people, and he would be able to complete his task perfectly, as expected of the Wangu clan. With just a move, so many experts accompanied you. If this force was placed in Jojo, it could easily dominate everything. The old man spoke again, his words carrying a hint of flattery. You're too kind. Since the Flame Emperor wants someone, the Wangu clan naturally has to ensure that nothing goes wrong. After all, the Flame Emperor and I have been good friends for many years. The man laughed loudly, but his face was also lifted. At least the Flame State and the Flame Emperor would know the power of the Wangu clan once again. In fact, just by relying on the name of the Wangu clan, who would dare to provoke you in the Yen province? Not to mention that you have dispatched so many experts this time. With such a grand display, unless you're a fool, no one would dare to stop the Wangu clan from advancing. The old man flattered again. Although he knew that it was flattery, the Wangu clan head clearly enjoyed it. However, at this moment, a dragon roared in the sky. 4 arrows circled in the sky and shot towards the city gates. This sudden attack had undoubtedly shocked everyone. Be careful. The Wangu clan's patriarch's face changed. He had also noticed that the arrow was extremely extraordinary. Boom. He raised both of his hands up high and slammed them on the ground. A terrifying force soared into the sky and formed a huge wave of earth. It was like a huge shield that blocked the arrow that was shot at him. Boom. That arrow was extremely ferocious. When it hit the earth shield, it actually caused the shield to sway a little and cracks to appear on it. However, the Wangu clan head was a martial ancestor realm expert. Previously, he was only anxious to attack, so he was a little embarrassed. However, the arrow could not pierce through him. Therefore, after a violent boom, the dragon god's arrow began to disappear. Who is so bold? The people at the back shouted angrily. Today, they had come to hand over people in such a grand manner, but someone still dared to cause trouble. Was this not a disgrace to the Wangu clan? The Wangu clan head's face was extremely gloomy. Just as he was about to say something, his expression suddenly changed, and he turned his head in disbelief. He saw that the messenger of the Flame Emperor was stunned on the spot. His eyes bulged as if he had seen the most unbelievable thing in his life. A sword mark began to appear on his neck, and his head quietly slid off. Plop! When the sound of his head falling to the ground was heard, everyone fell silent. Dead. The messenger representing the Flame Emperor was dead, and he died in front of everyone in the Wangu clan. To the Wangu clan, this matter was a great humiliation. Who? The Wangu clan head stood on the spot, trembling all over, and his eyes were cold. It turned out that the dragon god's arrow was just a cover. The real fatal blow was the decisive sword strike. Most importantly, the person who came did not kill him, but the messenger of the Flame Emperor. This was a disgrace to Wangu Ishiong. Chapter 33-23. I want a person. Woof woof woof. All of a sudden, the divine hound barked madly as it bared its fangs. A powerful aura burst forth from its body as though an enemy was approaching. The ground started to tremble as though an earth dragon was rumbling through the ground. Slowly, a huge black flower bud appeared. As the flower bud blossomed, several figures walked out from it. The young man in the lead wore a clean blue robe, and he carried a huge sword on his back. Stretching his neck, he walked in front of the group of people. The young man didn't look familiar, but his demeanor and attitude were extremely arrogant. Too noisy. The young man snorted coldly as he pulled out his sword and sheathed it. The sword slashed towards the group of people from the Wangu clan, but it wasn't aimed at them. It was aimed at the hounds. With a single slash, more than a dozen divine hounds were killed. Fresh blood flowed onto the ground, and the remaining divine hounds didn't dare to bark anymore. That's more like it. The young man nodded his head in satisfaction as he walked towards Wangu Ishiong. You must be the Wangu clan's patriarch, right? My name is Lin Ling, and I'm here for a single purpose. I want to bring Wangu Wuji away. The young man spoke as he walked. Even though his voice was calm, it was filled with a fearless arrogance. There were a few people following behind him, and the moment Wangu Fengyun and the others appeared, the faces of the Wangu clan members changed. Wangu Fengyun and the others were sent to the death cell, but they were here. Lin Ling. Amongst the members of the Wangu clan, a skinny youth who was bound by ice and fire chains raised his head in disbelief. He was Wangu Wuji. He was truly shocked by Lin Ling's appearance. After all, he knew that Lin Ling was here to save him. However, he hadn't met Lin Ling more than 5 times, but Lin Ling was really here. He couldn't help but admire Huang Xiaolong's character. Who are you? The Wangu clan's patriarch let out a low growl, but did not act rashly. After all, there were countless experts in the Wangu clan, and they had come here in a grand manner. However, a few juniors in the early phase of the True Saint realm had dared to come here and claim that they were going to take Wangu Wuji away. Unless they were insane, they definitely had someone backing them up. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you should hand him over. Lin Ling finally stopped and said calmly. It had to be said that Huang Xiaolong's calm demeanor had indeed intimidated the entire Wangu clan. Who do you think you are? Do you think we have to hand him over just because you want him? However, the Wangu clan was the most powerful clan in the Yen province, so someone quickly spoke up. The person who spoke was a cold-looking young man who was at the 4th layer of the Saint realm. Most importantly, his aura was extremely domineering and it was similar to Wangu Wuji's. It was desolate. But the difference was that his aura was much wilder. If Wangu Wuji was a sword, then Huang Xiaolong was a blade. His name was Wangu Feiying, and he was the only genius in the Wangu clan who was inferior to Wangu Wuji. His cultivation was higher than Wangu Wuji, and he was older. However, in terms of potential, he was inferior to Wangu Wuji. Then who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to speak when I speak? Lin Ling didn't even look at the young man as he retorted. Ha ha ha. Wangu Feiying laughed as though he was mocking Lin Ling's ignorance. He knew that the Wangu clan's patriarch wouldn't make a move on the young man because of his status. However, he could. If you don't even know who I am, what are you doing here? Don't you know that other than the patriarch, I'm the second most famous person in the Wangu clan? Wangu Feiying said indifferently. I don't care why you're here, but I'll find out who's behind you. Wangu Feiying had the same thoughts as Wangu Ishiong. He guessed that there was someone behind Lin Ling. Senior brother Feiying, capture him. Let this arrogant brat know how powerful you are. When they saw Wangu Feiying walk out, cheers erupted from the Wangu clan. Even the dejected divine hound started to bark madly. Wangu Feiying enjoyed the sounds of worship as though he was the next patriarch of the Wangu clan. I'm sorry, but I only know one person called Wangu Wuji in the Wangu clan. The rest of them are nothing more than trash. Lin Ling said. His disdainful words caused the smile on Wangu Feiying's face to disappear. In its place was anger. It seems like I've hit your sore spot. All right. Wangu Feiying's expression couldn't escape Lin Ling's eyes. Hence, Lin Ling spoke again. This time, Wangu Feiying's face was incomparably gloomy. In the Wangu clan, he was indeed below Wangu Wuji. No matter how dazzling and powerful he was, People would only remember Wangu Wuji and not Wangu Feiying when they talked about the Wangu clan. This was the pain in Wangu Feiying's heart. Everyone in the Wangu clan knew this, but no one dared to say it out loud. However, this unfamiliar young man had actually said it out loud. Moreover, this wasn't the first time Linling had said it out loud. This was the second time. It seems like you've lost to Wangu Wuji. No wonder you're so happy today. After Wangu Wuji's death, you'll be the strongest person in the younger generation of the Wangu clan. However, aren't you a little too useless? Since you can't win against Wangu Wuji, you're resorting to such despicable methods? Linling sneered. Wangu Feiying couldn't hold it in any longer. His originally wild aura became even more domineering. Even though he couldn't compare to Wangu Wuji, he wasn't a nobody in the Flame Province. How could he be so useless? I'm going to kill you. Wangu Feiying's eyes turned red. It's a good wish, but it's a pity that you can't do it in reality. Linling said fearlessly. Feiying, don't fall for his trap. He's trying to infuriate you. Wangu Ishiong suddenly spoke up as he stared at Linling. This mysterious young man was too powerful. He managed to infuriate Wangu Feiying with just a few words. If they were in a battle of life and death, even if Wangu Feiying was stronger, he would lose 30% of his strength if he lost his rationality. Little friend, you want him, right? If you win against him, I'll hand him over to you. If my Wangu clan wins, you only need to tell me who's behind you and I'll let you leave. Wangu Ishiong spoke up once more. He still believed that there was someone behind the mysterious young man. He wanted to know who it was that wanted to make a move against the Wangu clan. Sure, but I'm afraid that you won't be able to do as you say. Linling nodded his head when he heard Wangu Ishiong's words. Don't worry. My Wangu clan has been in the Flame Province for so many years. How can I not do as I say? Wangu Ishiong chuckled when he saw Wangu Feiying's reaction. If he dared to say that, it meant that he had absolute confidence in Wangu Feiying. Chapter 33-24. It was time to hand the person over. What do you take our Wangu clan for? Why would we go back on our words to trash like you? Wangu Feiying finally calmed down and mocked Huang Xiaolong. Then I hope you'll keep your word. Linling nodded his head. Wangu Feiying took a step forward, and although he wasn't fast, every step he took felt as though the heavens were about to collapse. Behind him, smoke pervaded the air. An enormous void figure appeared, unexpectedly making it difficult for everyone to breathe, their entire bodies trembling with coldness. An aura that seemed to have originated from the era of gods filled the air. In the sky, there was an ancient ghost hippopotamus that was larger than a mountain. The hippopotamus body was filled with power, and there were sharp bone spikes on its body. When it opened its mouth, it felt as though it could crush anything in the world. Ultimate desolate physique. Corpse bone god horse. It was said that this was the mount of one of the 10 great netherworld gods, the corpse bone river god. The moment the ultimate desolate physique appears, there is no one under the heavens but me. The younger generation of the Wangu clan immediately let out a thunderous cheer. In the Wangu clan, other than Wangu Wuji, Wangu Feiying was the second person to possess the ultimate desolate physique. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Wangu Feiying was the strongest expert in the true saint realm. Of course, that didn't include Wangu Wuji. After all, Wangu Wuji was only in the second heaven of the true saint realm. That brat is dead for sure. How many moves do you think he can take from Brother Feiying? 3 moves. That's the limit. Many of the younger generation members crossed their arms as they mocked Wangu Feiying. 4 breaths at most. In the end, an older old man said with a smile. Wangu Ishiong also laughed. After the mysterious young man's defeat, he should be able to find out who the young man's backer was. Do you know the difference between us now? Someone like you dares to come and take him away? To put it bluntly, I've killed countless trash like you in the past few years. Wangu Feiying said coldly. After he spoke, he took a step forward and pounced on Linling. His aura was extremely ferocious, and it caused the ground to tremble. At the same time, the huge skeleton in the sky opened its mouth wide, as if it was going to crush everything. It was rumored that when it came to biting force, the skeleton god horse was one of the top divine beasts. When it reached its peak, It could even crush the 9 continents. The surging fist, mixed with the power of rank, immediately enveloped Lin Ling and headed towards him. What was terrifying about this punch was not the power of his cultivation level, but the power of his ultimate desolate body. Lin Ling remained expressionless when he saw the incoming fist. He had to admit that Wan Gufeiying was truly powerful. His big brother and the others weren't his opponents. However, he had met Lin Ling. Boom! Lin Ling's boundary essence, which was originally at the first heaven of the Sage Realm, suddenly surged wildly. The power of his god-devil body exploded out. The most terrifying thing was the fusion of his 5 dantians. The boundary essence that was formed was like a hurricane. It was like a volcano that had been dormant for 1,000 years. The moment it erupted, it was so sudden and so crazy that it caused the cheers in the surroundings to disappear instantly. Everyone's jaws dropped. It was especially so for Wan Gufeiying. His eyes were trembling. That was because he had never thought that a young man at the first heaven of the Sage Realm would possess such dense boundary essence. It was even stronger than his 4th heaven of the Sage Realm. What a strange fellow. However, I have the ultimate desolate body. I can fight those above my cultivation level. Wan Gufeiying suppressed the shock in his heart. He didn't stop attacking. However, was he the only one with the ultimate desolate body? Lin Ling raised his fist and gathered all his strength. An ancient stone tablet appeared behind him. Wisps of flames enveloped Lin Ling's fist. It was so domineering, as though it wanted to burn the world. Boom! When the 2 fists collided, Wan Gufeiying's fist was like a piece of tofu. Moreover, his chest was ruthlessly hit, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. He staggered backwards, causing the ground to crack. As for his ultimate desolate body, it dimmed. The skeleton god horse was like the divine hound from before, quietly lowering its head. Everyone was dumbfounded. Silence filled the air. It was as though time had stopped. Regardless of whether it was the elders of the Wangu clan or the younger generation, everyone had lost their minds. Their minds were blank. Wan Gufeiying, who possessed the ultimate desolate body, had actually lost to a mysterious young man at the first heaven of the Sage Realm. One punch. This huge contrast made people feel very uncomfortable in their hearts. One had to know that even though Wan Gufeiying was ranked below Wan Guwuji, he was still extremely famous in the Yen prefecture. Not long ago, he had killed a large number of experts from the Great Devil sect in the Heavenly King Mountain. He had been praised by the various experts of the Yen prefecture. This fellow. Even Wan Guwuji was shocked when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words. In the past, he had cultivated together with Lin Ling in the underground arena. Lin Ling had broken through to the next realm. Wan Guwuji knew that Lin Ling was strong, but he didn't expect him to be so strong that he could defeat Wan Gufeiying with a single punch. As for Wan Gufeiying, he had managed to stabilize himself. However, blood was still flowing from the corner of his mouth. When it landed on his clothes, it was extremely glaring. I'm bleeding. I'm actually bleeding. No, that's not my blood. He shook his head in disbelief. He was the only one who could fight against those with a higher cultivation realm than him. If it's not your blood, could it be mine? Lin Ling sneered when he saw Wan Gufeiying's reaction. You're not an ordinary true saint. When Wan Gufeiying saw Lin Ling looking at him, he subconsciously took a step back. A trace of panic appeared in his eyes. After exchanging blows with Lin Ling, he finally understood how terrifying Lin Ling's strength was. How is this possible? How is this possible? How can a passerby in the true saint realm defeat me? However, he still found it hard to accept the truth. Passerby? When Lin Ling heard Wan Gufeiying's words, the smile on his face disappeared. He didn't say anything else as he used the speed of 100 worlds to appear in front of Wan Gufeiying. Half of Huang Xiaolong's strongest attack came from the ultimate desolate body. Hence, he wasn't stupid enough to use any secret martial arts. He used his world essence and ultimate desolate body to suppress Wan Gufeiying. Bang! 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 The sound was deafening. Everyone could only see the most dazzling Wan Gufeiying of the Wangu clan being beaten up like a dog by the mysterious young man. It could be said that Wan Gufeiying was powerless to fight back. Do you know the difference between us now? Do you think that you can stop me? To put it bluntly, I've killed countless trash like you over the years. At the same time, Lin Ling returned Wan Gufeiying's words back to him. The entire Fallen Leaves city fell into a deathly silence. Everyone could only watch as Wangu Feiying was beaten up. Their hearts were filled with complicated emotions. Enough! Wangu Ishiong roared furiously, as if he was humiliated by someone. Now you can hand him over. Chapter 33-25. Threatening me? Clearly, Linling knew that he was here for Wangu Wuji and not Wangu Feiying. However, after hearing Linling's words, Wangu Ishiong fell silent and the cold aura around him intensified. Everyone from the Wangu family felt the same way. It was as though they wanted to kill the arrogant young man with their gazes. Of course, they knew why their family head didn't make a move. He wanted to know who was behind the young man. That was why he sent Wangu Feiying to make a move. However, Wangu Feiying was a disappointment. Why aren't you saying anything? Linling chuckled when he saw that the family head was silent. Let me guess. You're going back on your words. Isn't that right? It seems like your so-called family head's words are nothing but farts. How shameless. Huang Xiaolong's words were like a sharp sword that stabbed into Wangu Ishiong's heart. The Wangu family wasn't the only one watching. There were many people from the Fallen Leaves city as well. Wangu Ishiong had lost a lot of face this time. After all, there was no way he would release Wangu Wuji. Little friend, if it was anything else, I would definitely agree to it. However, Wangu Wuji is someone that the Flame Emperor wants. I really can't help you with this matter. Wangu Ishiong raised his head and said, if you want to be shameless, then be shameless. Why do you have to push this matter to someone else? However, Linling didn't give him any face. After all, Wangu Ishiong's excuse might be able to fool a 3-year-old child, but it was too naive to fool Linling. No matter what, I won't release him. On the contrary, I'm very curious about the person behind you. Although Wangu Ishiong felt embarrassed, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Moreover, his gaze turned colder and colder. It was clear that he was going to make a move. I'm not going to waste my breath with you. Are you going to release him or not? Linling's aura became even more domineering. What if this old man doesn't release him? Wangu Ishiong sneered. Although Linling had some ability, it was impossible for him to take Wangu Wuji away from him. Bring him out. Linling didn't waste any time. He lightly stomped on the ground, and the soil on the ground immediately rolled up. Then, a young man who was bound by black vines appeared. At this moment, his face was filled with panic. Everyone was stunned when they saw the young man in a sorry state, and their expressions changed drastically when they saw the young man clearly. Yan Er! Wangu Ishiong roared in anger as he glared at Linling. This young man was so cunning. He actually captured his son to threaten him. At this moment, he was undoubtedly fuming with anger because he was already prepared to attack. He thought that capturing Linling and the others would be as easy as flipping his hand. But now, he was afraid of breaking the vases. Your eyesight is pretty good. This is indeed your trash son. But, what surprised me is that the son of the dignified Wangu clan's patriarch is actually so trash, being caught by me in one move. No wonder the current Wangu clan has declined so much. Looking at Wangu Ishiong's anger, Linling smiled in a relaxed manner. Shut up! Wangu Ishiong was even more furious when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words. What a hateful brat! He actually used his son to attack him, causing his reputation in the Wangu clan to plummet. You only have 2 choices now. 1. Release him. 2. Your son dies. Ignoring Wangu Ishiong's anger, Linling spoke coldly and waved his right hand, bringing Wangu Iyen in front of him. Little friend, do you know what it means to ask a tiger for its skin? Seeing this, Wangu Ishiong's eyes flashed with cold-killing intent. At this moment, he was filled with regret. He shouldn't have been so hesitant and should have attacked directly. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a situation. If you release him, I will spare your life. Otherwise, if you make me angry, you will incur the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people. Let me tell you, my Wangu clan can become the #1 clan in Yen province because of its influence and power. Therefore, if you take a wrong step, you will be consigned to eternal damnation. Wangu Ishiong's voice was extremely cold. He wanted to let Linling see the situation clearly. The Wangu clan's people also had cold expressions on their faces. Threatening the patriarch's son was the same as provoking the Wangu clan. A mere young man, who gave him the guts to do so. Moreover, if he dared to do so, he would definitely regret it. As a member of the Wangu clan, they were extremely confident in themselves and had a strong sense of superiority. I don't need you to teach me what to do. I know what I'm doing. If you think that you can threaten me with a few words, then you better not open your mouth. However, facing the Wangu clan's imposing aura, Lin Ling calmly retorted. His voice was flat, as if he was talking about the most ordinary thing in the world. Threatening him, Lin Ling? He, Lin Ling, had seen all kinds of storms since he started learning martial arts. What kind of life and death situations had he not seen? Was there any use in threatening him? I'll give you one last chance. When Wangu Ishiong heard Lin Ling's voice, he couldn't help but admit that the mysterious young man in front of him was truly bold and arrogant. However, his patience and humiliation had already reached its limit. He couldn't allow anyone to threaten him. After all, this represented his dignity and the Wangu clan's dignity. Thus, he raised his hand high into the air. This action caused the members of the Wangu clan to enter a state of battle. Waves of energy rolled out, and the metal warships roared. Divine hounds howled towards the heavens. At this moment, the entire Yen state was intimidated by this aura. Wangu Fengyun and the others' faces turned pale. What a terrifying aura! They clearly knew that it was a formidable force formed by countless martial saints and martial progenitors. Would ordinary people be able to raise their heads in the face of such a force? Lin Ling. Wangu Wuji was still chained up, but when he raised his head to look at the blue-robed figure in the distance, tears welled up in his eyes. Ever since he was young, people had always treated him with respect due to his outstanding talent. However, in reality, there was a hidden coldness in the depths of their hearts. Everyone wanted him to fall, and that was why he had always been wary of others. He believed that every man for himself would be destroyed. However, right now, a young man whom he had met by chance had killed his way into the Wangu clan for him. This had shattered his view of the world. He couldn't help but look at Sakura and Meng Lu. All of a sudden, he understood why the two of them were willing to follow Lin Ling. This was because he was a proud and righteous man. Threatening me? When Lin Ling felt the surging aura around him, a cold smile appeared on his face. Although he would have been torn apart by the Wangu clan if he didn't have the Wangu Yen in his hands, it was impossible for him, Lin Ling, to be afraid. Lin Ling had been learning martial arts for so long, but he didn't even know what the word fear meant. Swoosh! Without wasting any time, Lin Ling slashed out with his sword. Sword light flowed like water, carrying with it decisiveness and determination. Puh! Fresh blood spurted out. Wangu Yen was stunned for a moment before a sharp pain shot through his body, causing him to scream like a pig being slaughtered. Lin Ling had actually chopped off his right arm. Was Lin Ling crazy? Chapter 33-26. Asking a tiger for its skin. No, this was a challenge. Wangu Yen finally reacted to Huang Xiaolong's words while screaming in pain. Everyone from the Wangu clan was stunned, but they gradually reacted. The young man was telling them that they were ruthless, but he was even more ruthless. Let's see who is more ruthless. Come and kill me, ah. If I, Lin Ling, frown, I will write my name backwards, and there will be no more me in this world. Lin Ling raised his sword, looking arrogantly at the Yen province's most ancient clan. Everyone felt suffocated. They never thought that this young man would be so ruthless and arrogant. Especially that huge sword with flowing blood-red light. This made them realize that this young man was like a sword. Only when he was about to die in battle, there would never be a moment where he would be scared off. You! Wangu Ishiong's eyes twitched. He never thought that there would be someone who wasn't afraid of the Wangu clan. More importantly, that young man didn't even bat an eyelid in front of him. A martial ancestor. Let him go! Wangu Ishiong bellowed. Whoosh! However, Lin Ling remained expressionless. The coldness in his eyes seemed to come from the depths of hell as he slashed out with his sword once again. He used his sword to answer Wangu Ishiong. Ah! Wangu Yen screamed in pain again. His other arm was chopped off, and blood spurted out continuously. The pain almost made him faint. You! This vicious scene made Wangu Ishiong's face change drastically. He realized that he wasn't the one in control of the situation, and he wasn't the one threatening the young man, but the mysterious young man. He only had one choice, either sacrifice his son, or compromise. Compromise with a true Saint Realm Jr. Most importantly, this compromise was the compromise of the entire Wangu clan. The Wangu clan was the #1 clan in the Yen province, and their backing was the 9 prefectures' 10 martial gods. If they compromised today, what dignity would they have left? Who is this young man? He's as arrogant as snow. At this time, in the Fallen Leaves city, countless cultivators' hearts were pounding. Since they started learning martial arts, the most courageous person they had ever seen was none other than that young man. Using one person to intimidate 10,000 people. How awe-inspiring. In front of the Fallen Leaves city, the previously majestic Wangu clan was completely silent at this moment. Everyone was frowning, and could only stare at the blue-robed youth. As for Wangu Ishiong, he was contemplating whether he should compromise or not. Perhaps, this was the first time he had considered something so seriously ever since he became the patriarch of the Wangu family. Under such considerations, every minute and every second felt like torture. Lin Ling, you're amazing. Wangu Wuji stared at the silent members of the Wangu clan, and his heart trembled. This was the first time he had seen the members of the Wangu clan being forced into a corner. Time's up. At this moment, Lin Ling's voice, which sounded like a death sentence, rang out. Wait. At the same time, Wangu Ishiong raised his head, and his expression was unusually cold. It was clear that he had made up his mind. After much consideration, he had finally decided to release Wangu Ishiong. After all, there was no need for him to go against a young man. He had to admit that he was afraid of this arrogant young man for the time being. However, the release of Wangu Ishiong was only temporary. He was confident that as long as Wangu Wuji and the others were still in the Flame Prefecture, none of them would be able to escape from his clutches. That included this despicable young man. Release them. Wangu Ishiong turned to look at the members of the Wangu clan, and an old man nodded his head coldly. They understood what the Wangu clan meant, and a mocking smile appeared on their faces. Asking a tiger for its skin? That was impossible. Clang! The chains on Wangu Wuji's body were released, and he hurried over to Lin Ling's side. Lin Ling nodded his head and barked. You guys leave first. I'll catch up with you later. Alright. Sakura and the others immediately went back the way they came. The members of the Wangu clan weren't in a hurry, and they waited patiently for Lin Ling. After Sakura and the others disappeared completely, Wangu Ishiong spoke up. I've already released them. It's your turn now. Lin Ling, will keep my promise. I'll release them when I say so. Lin Ling chuckled and got little Kunlun to remove his cloak. He then tossed Wangu Iyen aside and walked back the way he came. Father. Wangu Iyen's body was covered in blood as he yelled at his father. His eyes were filled with malevolence. Wangu Ishiong nodded his head and looked at Lin Ling coldly. Everyone from the Wangu clan reacted the same way. They even sneered. In their opinion, Lin Ling had already released Wangu Iyen. Did he really think that he could leave this place alive? Little friend. Please wait. Wangu Ishiong said coldly. It seems like the Wangu clan is going back on their words again. It wasn't hard for the members of the Fallen Leaves city to guess Wangu Ishiong's thoughts. He wouldn't let the blue-robed youth leave. Wangu family head. Do you want me to stay? Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. Everyone was shocked that he was able to remain calm in the face of such a situation. What do you think? Wangu Ishiong chuckled as though he was talking to a friend. Let me give you a reminder. Don't do anything pointless. Otherwise, I'll make all your efforts go to waste. Lin Ling chuckled and said indifferently. I don't believe it. No one has ever dared to provoke the Wangu clan and leave safely. Although Wangu Wuji managed to escape, you have to stay. As for Wangu Wuji and the others, I believe that it won't be long before we catch them. Go. Wangu Ishiong waved his hand, causing the members of the Wangu clan to become restless. The way they looked at Lin Ling was as though they were looking at a dead man. As for the people of the Fallen Leaves city, each of them sighed and shook their heads. Although this young man was extraordinary and dared to do business with the Wangu clan, he was still too naive. He had forgotten about the Wangu family head's character. It seems like if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know what kind of person I, Lin Ling, am. However, Lin Ling shook his head helplessly in the face of the Wangu clan's experts. He stretched out his left hand and waved it in the air, forming a mysterious barrier. In the end, he patted lightly. Bang! As though he had broken through a taboo, the Wangu clan's experts sneered. Wangu Yen, who seemed to be unharmed, suddenly let out a cry of pain. Moreover, this cry of pain was even sharper than before. Father, save me! Wangu Yen screamed anxiously as blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. His terrifying appearance caused the faces of the cultivators in the Fallen Leaves city to change. As for the Wangu clan's experts, none of them dared to act rashly. What? A bad feeling rose in Wangu Yixiong's heart and he immediately rushed over to check on Wangu Yen. However, he couldn't find anything. There's no need to look. This isn't something you can break. While Wangu Yixiong was still in disbelief, an indifferent voice sounded from afar. Wangu Yixiong raised his head and his eyes trembled violently. Chapter 33-27. He had a backup plan. This hateful young man actually had a backup plan, and he couldn't see through it at all. Suddenly, Wangu Yixiong felt a chill run down his spine. This time, he finally looked at this young man seriously. Although this young man looked arrogant, he was actually very meticulous. It seemed that they were the ones who were asking a tiger for its skin. You should have heard of the slaves in the arena. I set up a slave enchantment in his body, and this enchantment can't be broken except for the master. Ignoring the shocked crowd, Lin Ling moved forward again. His blue robe was extremely mysterious at this moment, and he didn't look like a junior of the Saint Realm at all. Slave enchantment. Hearing that, Wangu Yixiong finally understood. It was actually this kind of enchantment. Of course, he had heard of this kind of enchantment. It was said that if one wanted to set up this kind of enchantment, one must have a strong spirit array Dao and a strong enough soul power. Only then could one engrave the enchantment in the depths of the slave's soul, making the slave unable to resist for eternity. At present, except for the true inheritance of Miao Shan in the Miao province, only a few big shots in the Yen province could set it up. This also meant that they had no other way to break the enchantment except for the method to break it. Sure enough, he has a backup plan. Wangu Yixiong hated him even more, but what could he do now? 3 days later, go to the Jade Forest Tower in the St. Martial City. There is a way to break the enchantment on the top floor. Set up the enchantment according to the method. Then he can live. Remember, if you can't break the enchantment in 3 months, even the martial god can't save him. In front of the big hole in the ground, Lin Ling said with a smile and then jumped into it. Bastard! Seeing Lin Ling leave, Wangu Yixiong couldn't help but roar in anger. He definitely wouldn't dare to chase after Lin Ling, because if he did, then his precious son would definitely die, and he would suffer a double loss. The trick that Lin Ling had left behind clearly had him in a tight grip. Lin Ling. Who is this person? Wangu Yixiong deeply remembered this name. Lin Ling, the hero who killed the 5th demon elder in the Heavenly King Mountain. Finally, someone reacted, but the words made the city of Luoye dead silent. Lin Ling, the mysterious young man from Mount Heavenly King, had exposed Jiang Wujie's hypocrisy. He had even taken out Senior Devil's body to prove that he was the one who had killed Senior Devil. To many people, this Lin Ling was a legend. Lin Ling from the Grand Change Nebula sect? When this matter is over, I will personally pay a visit. With a cold snort, Wangu Yixiong led everyone away. The only thing he could do now was to undo the enslavement barrier around his son's soul. Bang bang bang. At this moment, black vines pierced through the ground like snakes. A moment later, under a quiet green mountain, the soil began to churn, and then a young man slowly walked out. Lin Ling. Second brother. Not far from the green mountain, a few people had been waiting quietly for a long time. As they saw the blue-robed young man walk out, their faces beamed with joy. They were Sakura and the others. They had been very worried, but they had not expected Lin Ling to be able to escape unscathed. Wangu Wuji and the others were especially surprised. After all, they knew very well what kind of power the Wangu clan had. In their opinion, Lin Ling had no chance of escaping. I have planted an enslavement barrier in the depths of Wangu Yen's soul. Looking at everyone's surprised faces, Lin Ling did not hide anything and explained with a smile. He had known that with the power and reputation of the Wangu clan, they would not let Lin Ling escape unscathed. Therefore, Lin Ling had already prepared a backup plan. I see. Hearing this, Sakura and the others suddenly came to a realization. The enslavement barrier was one of the barriers in the gladiator arena. It was said that even a martial ancestor would be enslaved as long as the enslavement barrier was planted. Wangu Yen got lucky. However, it's fine as long as we can leave. We will definitely make a comeback in the future. Wangu Wuji smiled faintly. He would remember today's grudge. He wasn't someone who could be bullied by others, and he would definitely take revenge. Lucky. Hee. Even though I have left them a seal to break the barrier, will they be able to lay it down? However, Lin Ling also smiled. His smile was extremely cold. The Wangu clan had gone back on their words time and time again, so why should he, Lin Ling, stick to the rules and keep his promise to them? Lin Ling, what do you mean by that? Wangu Wuji and the others were confused. They had heard that Lin Ling had left a seal to break the enslavement barrier, but now, he was saying that the Wangu clan would be able to lay it down? What was the meaning of that? I said that I wouldn't kill Wangu Yen and would return him to them. However, I didn't say that I wouldn't kill him today. In fact, other than me, no one else can lay down the seal to break the enslavement barrier because it requires my soul imprint. If the enslavement barrier isn't broken in 3 months, Wangu Yen will definitely die. As for breaking it by force, it will trigger the eruption of a martial ancestor's strength. Lin Ling said coldly. Haha, second brother is still the best. Sakura and the others laughed when they heard Huang Xiaolong's words. They felt extremely carefree in their hearts. Wangu Wuji and the others were stunned for a moment before they burst out laughing. Then, where are we going next? After laughing, Sakura looked at Lin Ling and asked. Lin Ling pondered for a moment before nodding his head. Let's stay here for the time being. The situation outside is tense, and it won't be good for us to leave. Sakura and the others agreed to Huang Xiaolong's suggestion. Following that, the few of them began to cultivate under the Green Mountain. At this moment, the members of the Wangu clan brought Wangu Yen back to the clan in a hurry. Father, save me. I don't want to be a slave. Wangu Yen's hands were chopped off, and he cried out. This caused Wangu Ishiong to frown. At their level, unless their vitals were completely destroyed, such as the head, the soul and so on, it wouldn't be a big problem. However, his son was too unbearable. He actually cried. However, when he saw his son's pale face, Wangu Ishiong couldn't bear to scold him anymore. Go and invite Master Lu over. Also, bring back the breaking barrier of the Jade Forest Tower immediately. Wangu Ishiong issued an order majestically. He ordered his subordinates to leave immediately and split up the work. As for Master Lu, he was the strongest boundary master in the Wangu clan. He had already reached the rank of Boundary King. He was only one title away from the legendary Boundary God. A Boundary King was 1 in 10,000. One had to know that the Wangu clan was the #1 clan in the Yen province. They definitely had a lot of boundary masters. However, they were only red-robed and purple-robed boundary masters. There was no one who could become a Boundary King, nor did they have the talent to do so. How is the young master? Chapter 33-28. Wind and Clouds Billowed. He was Elder Lu. It was because of his pair of mystical horns that he was able to become a spirit formation king. It was an innate talent. Master Lu, quickly look at my son. Wangu Ishiong said anxiously. The old man nodded solemnly and immediately checked. Then, he raised his head and said in disbelief, This is the slave formation of the gladiator arena. Could it be Flame Emperor and his group? It's not them. It's a despicable brat. Wangu Ishiong said with a frown. What? Exclamation point. The old man's expression changed greatly. He was the only one who knew how complicated these spirit formations were. Not long after, someone finally rushed back with a large amount of complicated spirit formation seals in his hand. They were brought back from the Jade Forest Tower. Wangu Ishiong finally let out a sigh of relief. Lin Ling was smart. He did not lie to him. Unfortunately, Lin Ling was still too inexperienced. After his son was cured, He wanted Lin Ling dead. Even if he had to turn the Yen province upside down, he still wanted to capture Lin Ling. With these spirit formation seals, it won't be difficult! Exclamation point. Elder Lu picked up the spirit formation seals and continued to check them. He revealed a relieved smile to Wangu Ishiong. Then, he continued to decipher the spirit formation seals. At first, he was nervous, but gradually, he became more agile. Wangu Ishiong couldn't help but laugh when he saw Lin Ling's expression. He was already thinking about how to torture them to death after capturing them. Not good! Exclamation point. However, at this moment, Elder Lu cried out in alarm. This spirit formation seal requires the soul of the spirit formation master who set it up. If others forcibly remove the spirit formation seal, it will form a powerful explosive spirit formation seal. Exclamation point. As the old man spoke, his face gradually became paler. He looked at the dazzling spirit formation seals. At this moment, those spirit formations were quietly emitting light. A power that seemed to come from ancient times was gradually erupting. This power actually came from Elder Lu. However, through Lin Ling's spirit formation, the power had increased by 10 times. No, 100 times. What? Exclamation point. Wangu Ishiong roared. He also sensed a terrifying power sprouting. Retreat! Exclamation point. He did not have time to think and quickly retreated. The moment he moved, a terrifying explosive force soared into the sky. Rumble! More than half of the Wangu clan was wiped out. Even martial ancestors who were close to the Wangu clan were unable to escape death. In an instant, the Wangu clan was facing a calamity. The land nearby was also shaking, causing the cultivators of the 3 cities to look at the Wangu clan in shock. They didn't know what had happened to the #1 clan of the Yen province. Rumble! The remaining power was still vibrating, and it took a long time before it calmed down. Looking around, the entire Wangu clan was in a sorry state. All the tall buildings had collapsed, and there was a bottomless hole at the center of the Wangu clan. Various forces were still swirling inside the hole, and soon, a burly man fell out of the hole. His face was incomparably cold, and his body was trembling continuously. Dead. His son was dead. I'm afraid even the family's boundary king, Elder Lu, is dead. He, Wangu Ishiong, had been fooled. At this moment, he finally understood what it meant to ask a tiger for its skin. Lin Ling. Kill. Looking at the miserable scene in front of him, Wangu Ishiong roared to the sky. Kill. He must kill Lin Ling. Wangu clan, immediately head to the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect and capture Lin Ling. I want to see him if he's alive, and I want to see his corpse if he's dead. After Wangu Ishiong gave the order, the entire Yen province seemed to be in an uproar. The #1 clan turned out in full force and headed to the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. What happened? Why do the Wangu clan look like a cat whose tail has been stepped on? I heard that Wangu Ishiong's son is dead, and a boundary king in the clan has also died. The murderer is Lin Ling of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. What? A boundary king is also dead? This Lin Ling is too terrifying. The news snowballed and gradually spread throughout the Yen province. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Lin Ling to be able to kill a boundary king. One had to know that there were less than 5 boundary kings in the entire Yen province. It was no wonder that the Wangu clan was so angry. Many people had heard of Lin Ling's name. He was the hero of the trip to Heavenly King Mountain. However, they didn't expect that such a young hero could do such a big thing. However, the Wangu clan wasn't the only force heading to the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect at this moment. A large group of people walked towards the Great Change Nebula sect with surging killing intent. There were both young and old people in the group. However, their strength was extremely terrifying. Many of them were at the martial ancestor realm and the weakest was at the initial stage of the sage realm. As they walked through the sky of the Yen province, the people who were originally in an uproar were once again in an uproar. It seems that they are from the Divine Weapon Mansion. Look at those flags. They must be. Besides them, there are also people from the New Heavenly Court and the Flame Emperor. Some of the seniors who were wandering in the 9 states recognized the origin of these people. However, they were even more surprised. Something big must have happened for all the major forces to gather and send out their experts. At this moment, the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect was extremely quiet. No one knew that the experts of the 9 states were gathering. On the contrary, The elders and seniors of this sect had gathered together and were holding some kind of meeting. Sect leader, I think that Lin Ling and the others are too arrogant. It's fine if they don't respect the elders, but they didn't even say goodbye when they left the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. They don't take us seriously at all. In the silence, an old man spoke angrily. He was the great elder. As soon as he finished speaking, he secretly winked at many of the people around him. Obviously, they were united to impeach Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling was arrogant and he was flying higher and higher, which made them feel pressured. Hearing this, the Great Simplicity Elder frowned but didn't say anything. In my opinion, we should teach him a lesson and let him know that the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect is his sect. Seeing that the Great Simplicity Ancestor was silent, the Great Elder spoke again. That's right. He's just a lucky junior. Does he think that he can ignore us seniors just because he has some talent? Humph, when we were fighting in the 9 states, he was still drinking milk. The other elders also opened their mouths one after another, saying that Lin Ling was worthless. The Great Simplicity Ancestor's eyes flickered. Obviously, he also thought that Lin Ling did not respect him. Sect leader, we can't. Although Lin Ling is arrogant, his talent is there. Even Jiang Wujie is no match for him. If we teach him a lesson, won't we offend the future pillar of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect? However, there were also people who objected. A genius with outstanding talent could not be found in the 9 states. If he was placed in other sects, those sects would definitely fight for him. It was possible that it would cause a bloody storm. Chapter 33-29. They had come for Lin Ling. If a jade is not polished, it will not become a talent. His spirit must be suppressed. At the very least, we must let him know who we seniors are. We must let him know what kind of battle achievements and proud deeds we once had. Otherwise, he will continue to be arrogant and look down on us. The first elder spoke again, his voice cold. Sect leader, you decide. The other elders looked at Patriarch Tai Yi, waiting for him to make the decision. As long as the Tai Yi Patriarch agreed, they would make Lin Ling suffer a little and let him know how powerful they were. Tai Yi Old Ancestor's eyes flickered continuously. It was a difficult choice. If he went overboard and Lin Ling left Tai Yi Nebula sect, he would suffer a loss. If he didn't teach Lin Ling a lesson and Lin Ling was still arrogant, he wouldn't have any authority as the sect leader. You're right. If you don't polish a jade, you won't become a talent. It's time to suppress his spirit. However, we can't do it by force. If we can make him understand how much we've been through and how highly respected we are in the Yen province, that's enough. Finally, the Tai Yi Patriarch came to a decision. Haha, what a good suggestion, sect leader. Let's not talk about anything else. Just our reputation in the Yen state is enough to surprise Lin Ling. That's right. In the end, Lin Ling is still a little guy who hasn't seen the world. When he knows how mighty we are, he will revere us. Seeing that the Tai Yi Old Ancestor had made up his mind, many of the elders laughed. Hee hee, then let's prepare. This time, we must intimidate Lin Ling. The Great Elder also became excited. Rumble. However, at this moment the sky exploded. It was as if the firmament had shattered, causing the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect to sway. What happened? The Tai Yi Old Ancestor's face changed. He rushed out of the main hall with the other elders. When they arrived outside, they looked up and all of them gasped. The sky above the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect was filled with martial artists. Their auras were cold, as sharp as knives, and as domineering as thunderbolts. These auras joined forces and surrounded the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. As for the disciples of the Great Change Nebula sect, they were also on high alert. As long as one was not a fool, one would know that this group of experts was absolutely powerful. You are. The Tai Yi Patriarch had seen countless storms since he started learning martial arts, but this was the first time he had seen such a grand display. He could not help but ask anxiously. However, the experts in the sky remained silent. They only looked at the Tai Yi Ancestor coldly. Could it be that you're the Flame Emperor? The Tai Yi Old Ancestor suddenly frowned. Then, he stared at an old man and immediately reacted. Flame Emperor. The #1 emperor god of the Yen state, who controlled a powerful primordial power, was also the number 2 emperor gods in the 9 states. To be able to become the Flame Emperor, there was no need to doubt his strength. If not for the fact that the Tai Patriarch had followed an elder in his sect when he was young, he would not have been able to recognize the Flame Emperor. Flame Emperor! The entire Great Change Nebula sect exclaimed in surprise. Great Change Nebula sect had actually attracted such an expert. You're the sect leader of the Great Change Nebula sect. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. In the distance, a steel battleship and a luxurious palace arrived. A gorgeous silk banner was also fluttering with 2 large words embroidered on it. Wangu. Wangu clan? The Tai Patriarch's pupils trembled violently as his heart pounded violently. The Flame Emperor was here. Even the Wangu clan was here. What had happened to the Great Change Nebula sect today? Obviously, such a grand display had completely frightened the Tai Patriarch and everyone in the Great Change Nebula sect. This might be the biggest display of power they had ever seen in their lives. We're here for a person. In the silence, a low voice sounded from the sky. May I know who the seniors are here for? The Tai Patriarch hurriedly bowed. Of course, he knew that these experts were not here for him. He was not qualified for this. Seniors, who do you want? Just mention it and the Great Change Nebula sect will definitely assist you. The Great Elder said with a smile. Although the Great Change Nebula sect was famous in the 9 prefectures, how could it compare to these big shots of the 9 prefectures? Lin Ling. In the sky, a voice sounded at the same time, shocking the Great Change Nebula sect into silence. For Lin Ling? So many big shots had come for Lin Ling. Among them was the Flame Emperor and the Wangu clan? The Tai Patriarch was so frightened that he almost knelt on the ground. Even he did not receive such treatment. Why did Lin Ling have it? He's the son of the devil of the God Slayer Alliance. Therefore, we're here for him today. As if knowing that the Tai Patriarch did not know the truth, the cold voice sounded from the sky again. This sentence was even more shocking everyone in the Great Change Nebula sect and causing their minds to go blank. Suffocation. They even felt suffocated. This was because they had never expected Lin Ling to be the son of the devil. Everyone in the 9 prefectures knew about the son of the devil. He was a legendary figure. He had destroyed the gods, killed the devils, and shocked the 9 prefectures. Although this rumored figure was the number 1 enemy of the new heavenly court, there was no distinction between good and evil in this world. There was only the difference in strength. Therefore, no one thought that Lin Ling was a devil. On the contrary, some of the younger generation were full of admiration for the son of the devil. They even wanted to join the God Slayer Alliance. Of course, all of this was just wishful thinking. And now, the son of the devil was right beside them. He is the son of the devil. Zilong, Xueqi, and the others who had entered the Great Change Nebula sect with Lin Ling were so frightened that they fell to the ground. It was no wonder that Lin Ling's attitude towards them had always been lazy. So this was the reason. It was a kind of disdain and also a kind of mentality that showed that he did not want to compete with them. This was because they were not qualified to compete with the son of the devil. Plop. When they fell to the ground, the Great Elder and the others were not any better. They were so frightened that they also fell to the ground. Not long ago, because they did not like Lin Ling's arrogance, they wanted to use their status and past achievements to get Lin Ling to teach them how to be powerful. But now, they felt that they were simply showing off in front of Master Guan. Even if they added the Tai Patriarch into the mix, they still wouldn't be as famous as Lin Ling. They were famous people in the Yen state, but Lin Ling was famous in the 9 prefectures. When did Xueqi take in such a big shot as his disciple? Compared to the shock of the crowd, the Tai Patriarch kept shaking his head. He associated the honest and courageous disciple, Xueqi, with the son of the devil. He never thought that Xueqi would only be proud in the spirit state for the rest of his life, while his disciple's name would spread throughout the 9 prefectures. Xueqi could not compare to Lin Ling. Even the Tai Patriarch could not compare. The entire Great Change Nebula sect was dead silent. I never thought that the son of the devil would be hiding in such a small sect. Chapter 33:30. The big picture was the most important thing. Master, is Lin Ling in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect? At this moment, a A smiling voice was heard. Then, a handsome man walked out. It was Jiang Wujie. Lin Ling has offended the big shots of the Yen state and the 9 states. He can't escape. However, the Yen state has given us a chance. As long as we help to capture Lin Ling, we will have done a great service and eliminated the devil for the 9 states. Jiang Wujie said with a strong sense of righteousness. However, after hearing this, the eyes of the people of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect flickered. Although the son of the devil had the word devil in his name, everyone knew that he was not cruel and ruthless. He was famous in the 9 states because he had killed the deity and was the enemy of the new heavenly court. Therefore, they did not admit to calling Lin Ling a demon in their hearts. All these were just the words of the new heavenly court. Lin Ling is not in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. The ancestor of the Grand Simplicity sect knew this, but he still raised his head and said, I know, we all know. That's why we are here today for a few people. Master, is Xueqi with Lin Ling? Jiang Wujie said with a smile. This made many people suspicious. They naturally knew about Xueqi, but why was he looking for her? She left with Lin Ling. The ancestor of the Grand Simplicity sect said. What about the old man with Lin Ling? Jiang Wujie asked again. He also left. The ancestor of the Grand Simplicity sect was even more confused. Suddenly, a guess came to his mind. The people were the same. Their eyes turned cold as they cursed Jiang Wujie for being despicable and shameless. Jiang Wujie was too despicable. He had told the experts of the Yen state everything about Lin Ling. He did not have the pride of a martial artist. Is martial uncle he here? Jiang Wujie seemed to be a little impatient. He is here. Could it be you? Tai Patriarch said with a frown. It's good that he's here. We plan to use Master He as a bait to lure Lin Ling back here. Jiang Wujie finally smiled. He had finally found one of Lin Ling's friends. Sure enough, his plan was to blackmail Lin Ling. He wanted to use Lin Ling's friend as leverage. Shameless villain. Shameless. The people of the Great Change Nebula sect were aware of Jiang Wujie's thoughts and started cursing him. After all, if Jiang Wujie did not like Lin Ling, he could settle it in a warrior's way, such as a big fight. But now, it seemed that Jiang Wujie wanted to kill Lin Ling with the help of an expert. Most importantly, he had implicated innocent people. Jiang Wujie, you're trash. Suddenly, an angry shout came from the crowd. A middle-aged man pointed at Jiang Wujie in the sky and cursed. He was Uncle Master He. Moreover, he knew that he wouldn't be able to hide anywhere with so many experts here. Seniors, he's Uncle Master He. However, Jiang Wujie ignored Uncle Master He's cursing and smiled faintly as if he had done something great. You're the Uncle Master of the son of the demon? Capture him. A cold voice came from the sky. Then, a huge force shrouded Uncle Master He and tied him up tightly. He couldn't resist at all. Tai Patriarch, I don't care what method you use, but inform the son of the demon immediately. Otherwise, everyone in the Great Change Nebula sect will die. Then, a majestic voice came, which made the Tai Patriarch's expression change drastically. Was he going to cooperate with these experts to capture Lin Ling? Sect leader, although Lin Ling is the son of the demon, he's still a member of the Great Change Nebula sect. How can we hand him over so easily? But soon, someone retorted. It was Yi Ling Tian. That's right. If a sect is afraid of powerful strength, it's not qualified to survive. In the face of a powerful enemy, there won't be any unity. Then, another person spoke up. It was Yuro. Not long after, voices filled with fighting spirit were heard. However, most of them were from the disciples of the Great Change Nebula sect. This was because most of the young people were young and arrogant. Obviously, they didn't have the same concerns as the older generation. Shut up. What do you know? But soon, the great elder reprimanded them. What's the use of the sect if it doesn't exist anymore? As a disciple of the sect, you should contribute to the sect at the critical moment. That's what a disciple should do. Sect leader, please inform Lin Ling immediately. Otherwise, the ancestral legacy of the Great Change Nebula sect will be destroyed here. Yes, Lin Ling brought this trouble on himself. He should deal with it himself. One after another, the elders retorted. They were old, and had long since lost their sharpness. They only knew how to bow and salute to the strong. Moreover, they thought that it was only right and proper. A bunch of good-for-nothings. Seeing the shameless actions of the elders, the younger generation was full of disdain. They started to doubt the Great Change Nebula sect. The Great Change ancestor was still frowning. However, he finally made up his mind. He took out a voice transmission charm and sent a message. Linling, come back quickly. Otherwise, Martial Uncle he will die. When such a voice floated out, the faces of Yi Lingtian and the others turned gloomy. They had learned martial arts in the Great Change Nebula sect and treated the sect as half of their home. However, at this moment of life and death, the sect would still betray them. Perhaps, the Great Change Nebula sect only treated them as a tool to make a name for themselves. Everything should be based on the big picture. Sensing the silence of the crowd, the Great Change ancestor spoke in a dignified manner. However, his words were self-deceiving. Martial artists would naturally encounter all kinds of hardships and setbacks when they walked the world. If they were like the Great Change ancestor, bowing their heads to the strong and not even daring to say a word, then how could they talk about martial arts? At this moment, Lin Ling was cultivating in seclusion under a green mountain far away. He was trying to stabilize his cultivation base. However, he was currently lacking in cultivation resources. As such, it was difficult for him to raise his trump cards. At this moment, a cold voice rang out, causing Lin Ling to frown. He knew that it was the Great Change ancestor's voice. Lin Ling, come back quickly. Otherwise, Martial Uncle he will die. Yes. When the voice rang out, Lin Ling's face changed drastically. Shameless. Lin Ling cursed in anger. Although he didn't know what had happened, he was certain that Martial Uncle He's life was in danger. He quickly rushed out of the green mountain. As soon as he came out, two figures rushed over from the other side. It was Socrateon and the others. It was obvious that they had received the news as well. Lin Ling, what happened? Wangu Wuji and the others also felt that something was amiss. Ever since they had met Lin Ling, this was the first time they had seen him so angry. Someone has captured my martial uncle and is using him to threaten me. Lin Ling said coldly. Could it be the Wangu clan? Chapter 33-31. Advance bravely. I'm guessing that they are only a part of it. After all, not everyone knows that I respect Senior Uncle He. Only the people from the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect know about it. This matter isn't a small matter. Lin Ling shook his head as a thought flashed through his mind. It might be the new heavenly court. That's right. Sakura and the others' faces changed when they heard Wangu Ji's words. Did the new heavenly court finally find them? However, compared to their shock, Lin Ling calmed down quickly. After all, he had a hunch that something was going to happen. What should we do now? Sakura asked as he looked at Lin Ling. Let's go back. Senior Uncle He might be strict with us, but he treats us well. If something happens to him, I won't be able to answer to Master. Lin Ling said resolutely. But what awaits us when we return is a huge trap. That's right. Wangu Wuji said worriedly. Even if we know that there are tigers in the mountain, we still have to go. There aren't many people in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect who can make us acknowledge them. Senior Uncle He is one of them. That's right. Lin Ling looked into the distance as the determination in his eyes deepened. I'll go with you. Wangu Wuji, Wangu Fengyun, and the others looked at each other and spoke without any hesitation. You have to know that this trip is extremely dangerous. We might not be facing a mere Wangu family. Lin Ling looked at Wangu Wuji with a strange expression. Hee hee. Wangu Wuji chuckled when he heard Lin Ling's words. Lin Ling, if you know that I'm in trouble, aren't you going to risk your life for me as well? If you, Lin Ling, can do it, then why can't I, Wangu Wuji, do it? Lin Ling, there's no need for you to say anything more. If you say anything more, you'll be looking down on me. That's right. Lin Ling, we were going to die anyway. You were the one who saved our lives. At most, we'll return our lives to you. Wangu Fengyun and the others chimed in. These fellows. Sakura and the others felt their blood rushing to their heads. Wangu Wuji and the others were hot-blooded people. Youngsters, if you don't rush into the world, are you going to rush into it when you're old? Wangu Wuji laughed as he looked at Sakura and the others. Sakura and the others also laughed heartily. Yes, they were not old monsters that had cultivated for 10,000 years, and they were not as cautious as these old monsters. However, they had a drive towards the martial Tao, towards danger and difficulties. Only by courageously moving forward would one not waste one's life on the martial Tao. Let's go together then. Of the Heavenly Calamity Nebula. S of the Heavens. In the distance, the sky was still blue with white clouds drifting leisurely. However, Lin Ling could sense that a storm would soon reach the sky of the Yen province. At this moment, the Grand Change Nebula sect was quite lively. Experts from various forces in the 9 prefectures were chatting. Some were watching a good show, and some wanted to see how the son of devil was like with their own eyes. Heavens! Heaves heavenly N.E. Everyone in the nebula sect raised their heads and looked at the gloomy sky. As time passed, more and more experts arrived. Of course, they also clearly saw that there were only 3 major forces that wanted to capture Lin Ling. One was the new heavenly court, another was the Wangu clan, and the last was the divine escort mansion. Everyone knew that the new heavenly court had a grudge with the devil's son. Even the martial god was paying attention to this place. If Lin Ling came, he wouldn't be able to escape. As for the Wangu clan, they had heard that Lin Ling had killed the son of the Wangu clan's patriarch and a boundary king. It was no wonder that the Wangu clan was so angry. However, the divine escort mansion had no grudge with the devil's son. They were only participating in this matter to establish a good relationship with the new heavenly court. Devil's son? Hee, after today, you'll be nothing but a pile of bones. Suddenly, a leisurely voice rang out. A young man in a green brocade robe was standing in a corner of the sky with a few experts. He was looking at the ground leisurely. However, those who dared to speak loudly here were either idiots or had powerful backers. Therefore, many experts looked at the young man. Someone asked indifferently, "Sir, who are you?" Who I am has nothing to do with you. Wangu Chenji has the right to speak." The young man took out a jug of wine and drank leisurely. "Sir, this is the Yen state. Moreover, the experts of the Yen state are gathered here. It's better to keep a low profile." Many people were unhappy with the young man because they had never seen him before. Moreover, the young man's attitude towards them was as if he didn't care about them. However, Wangu Ishiong suddenly frowned. Wangu Chenji? Of course he knew this name. Wangu Chenji was a powerful genius of the Wangu clan. Because he was too dazzling, he was summoned by the old ancestor. It was said that the old ancestor personally taught him martial arts. However, the young man knew about Wangu Chenji? Could it be? Wangu Ishiong suddenly had a guess. However, those who were unhappy with the young man had already stepped forward. "Sir, you don't have the right to speak here. If I, Duan Yi, want to speak, no one can stop me." The young man smiled gently. His smile seemed calm, but it hid a domineering aura. With a flick of his finger, a dazzling ray of light shot out. The ray of light didn't seem big, but when it landed on one of the cultivators, it directly penetrated his body. It was difficult for any talent or rank to resist it. Boom! Following that, the warrior's body exploded. He was killed in a single move. The crowd immediately fell silent. What powerful energy! This energy isn't ancestral power. Could it be the powerful ultimate desolate physique? I sensed a wisp of divine power from it. Although it wasn't very clear, I still sensed it. He seems to be in the sage realm. After a moment of silence, many people started discussing. Their hearts were filled with shock. This was because they had never seen such an expert in their lives. Duan Yi? Could he be from the Duan clan? Very quickly, someone exclaimed. It was the golden crow from the new heavenly court. The moment his words fell, the sky of the Yen province became even quieter. The Duan family was an ancient family that was as famous as the Wangu family, and both of them had a martial god behind them. Moreover, judging from the surface, the young man called Duan Yi was obviously stronger than all the geniuses in the Wangu family. Perhaps, only the legendary Wangu Chenji would be able to compete with him. After learning of the latter's origin, no one dared to object. They could only feel astonished. They had never imagined that the demon's son would attract the experts of the Miao province. I think the demon's son might not come. Chapter 33-32. Are you ordering me? Junior Uncle He was bound by a powerful force, but he gritted his teeth and did not say a word. In his heart, he would rather Lin Ling and the rest did not come. After all, this was the end of his life. However, the disciples recruited by senior brother Xing were talented and had a bright future ahead of them. Hence, there was no need for him to die here. Your gaze makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to dig it out. Seeing that martial uncle, he was silent but had a proud expression on his face. The man's eyes turned cold. He raised his right hand and extended his index finger. A wisp of sharp boundary energy wrapped around his index finger. Then, he stabbed his finger into Junior Uncle He's eyes. As far as he was concerned, Lin Ling probably wouldn't show himself if he didn't teach his martial uncle He a lesson. Moreover, if Lin Ling really didn't dare to show himself, then there was no need for his martial uncle He to stay. Seeing this, the experts in the sky all sneered and remained silent. On the other hand, the people of Grand Simplicity Nebula sect started to shout. Many disciples looked at the Grand Simplicity Old Ancestor. However, the Grand Simplicity Old Ancestor did not look at Junior Uncle He. Instead, he looked to the other side. This made the disciples of Grand Simplicity Nebula sect sigh in their hearts. Get lost. However, at this moment, a loud shout came from the sky. Then, a sword slashed down and cut open the sky of Yen State. Everyone's eyes focused as they looked into the distance. They saw several figures quickly approaching. Swoosh. As for the man who attacked Junior Uncle He was cut in half by the sword. His upper body fell to the ground and blood flowed out continuously. He pointed at the people in the sky and wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. Poor him. Because he was impatient, he wanted to dig out Junior Uncle He's eyes. However, in the end, he was killed by a sword. Lin Ling, Di Shirtian, Meng Lu. Junior Uncle He looked at the people in the sky and his eyes could not help but moisten. They're here. Lin Ling and the rest finally came. He knew that it was a dead end, but he still came. At the same time, everyone stared at Lin Ling and the rest. For many people, this was the first time they saw the son of demon. This kid is really loyal to his friends. But soon, the crowd began to whisper. The son of the devil knew that it was a trap, but he still dared to come. One had to say that he was extraordinarily courageous. Son of the devil. In the new heavenly court, the golden crow sneered as he looked at the distant Lin Ling. After separating in the arena, he had been searching for the son of the demon, and today, he had finally found him. So, you are the son of the devil. Wangu Ishiong's eyes turned frosty. He finally knew why Lin Ling was so powerful. It turned out that he was the son of a devil. For a moment, all the experts were staring at Lin Ling, including the Flame Emperor. This caused everyone to sigh inwardly. With so many experts locking onto the son of devil, he was truly doomed. Lin Ling, you've committed such a grave mistake. Why don't you just surrender yourself? But soon, an angry roar was heard. The one who spoke was the great elder of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. Lin Ling and the rest stopped in their tracks. Instead of panicking, they sneered at the great elder. Sakura mocked. Are you ordering us? Of course, I'm your great elder. Great. The great elder seemed to want to flatter the Flame Emperor and the rest as he spoke with a dignified face. Hee, why didn't I see you as the great elder in the past? Now that we're facing a great enemy, you're showing off your dignity as the great elder? Sakura's voice became even more sarcastic. This caused many people in the Great Simplicity Nebula sect to laugh sarcastically. In the past, the great elder was the most displeased with Lin Ling and the rest. He often targeted them and spoke ill of them. But now, he was treating himself as the senior of Lin Ling and the rest. How shameless was that? Not to mention Lin Ling and the rest, even the rest of the people in the Great Simplicity Nebula sect would not put such a great elder in their eyes. The great elder's face was gloomy as he shouted angrily. Impudent. Sakura, do you know what you're doing? Go away. I'm killing you. Seeing this, Sakura did not waste his breath. He turned into a white bone giant and threw out a ferocious halberd, shattering the nearby sky. How dare you? That great elder had never thought that Sakura would make a move on him in front of so many people. Wasn't this making him lose face? Unfortunately, in front of Lin Ling and the rest, he was a shameless person. Therefore, after Sakura attacked, Meng Lu immediately attacked as well. The The powerful force suppressed the Great Elder and forced him to retreat. He was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. Great Elder? After the 2 of them attacked, Lin Ling also let out a sarcastic laugh. He stretched out his left hand and the roar of the dragon god sounded. Then, with a cracking sound, a huge 5-meter-long dragon bow appeared. Lin Ling quickly shot out an arrow. You flatter others so lowly. Do you think others will treat you as a person? How sad. I'm afraid that even if you want to be a dog, others won't want you. 4 arrows followed Lin Ling's arrow and swept towards the Great Elder. The Great Elder's strength was not weak. However, he was facing the combined forces of Lin Ling and the rest. Especially Lin Ling's great calamity-destroying Sun Bow, which carried the might of the heavenly dragon protector. It was extremely terrifying. The Great Elder swept his gaze and could only look at the sky, hoping that someone would come to help. However, the experts in the sky were expressionless and no one cared about him. Everything was as Lin Ling said. Those big shots only came for Lin Ling. He was the Great Elder? To put it bluntly, he was indeed not qualified to be a dog. Sect leader, save me. Seeing that no one cared about him, the Great Elder cursed and panicked. Lin Ling, you dared to kill the Great Elder. That is a violation of the rules of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect. This is an offense against your superiors. Your sin can no longer be atoned for. The ancestor of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect shouted angrily. In fact, he had not expected Lin Ling to be so arrogant that he dared to kill the founding elder of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect in front of him. However, he did not dare to kill him. He had already sent Lin Ling and the rest out for the experts of Yen State to kill. Why should Lin Ling give him any face? To be honest, if it were not for Xingxiu Yun, Lin Ling would not care about Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect at all. You're ordering me around? Hearing the words of the ancestor of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect, Lin Ling did not stop. Instead, he controlled the dragon god's arrow and attacked wildly. No! The Great Elder had to defend against the attacks of Sakura and the rest, as well as Lin Ling's dragon god's arrow. He could not defend himself at all. He could only see a huge dragon god roaring towards him. Rumble! Then, his entire body was penetrated by the dragon god's arrow and turned into ashes. This made Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect fall into a dead silence. All the elders pointed at Lin Ling. Their eyes were red, but they could not say a word. Lin Ling had offended his superiors. Even if they wanted to exonerate Lin Ling had committed the greatest sin in the history of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect. On the contrary, the disciples of Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect were delighted. That shameless villain was finally dead. Lin Ling, how dare you! Chapter 33-33. Reprimand. What? Do you have something to say? Lin Ling was still holding the huge dragon bow as he sneered at Patriarch Tai Yi. You can't escape the death penalty. Originally, you offended these big shots. I wanted to plead for mercy on your behalf because you are a disciple of the Grand Simplicity Nebula Sect. But you didn't change your ways and committed a heinous crime. You have disappointed me. Ancestor Tai Yi said angrily. Ha ha. Hearing this, Lin Ling laughed loudly and raised the dragon bow in his hand. This time, he aimed at the other elders. The faces of those elders immediately changed. They were completely terrified. When Lin Ling defeated Jiang Wujia last time, they knew that Lin Ling's strength ranked in the top 5 in the Grand Change Nebula Sect. Therefore, they could not stop Lin Ling. How dare you? The Tai Yi ancestor roared again. Was Lin Ling going to kill someone in front of him? Whoosh! However, why wouldn't Lin Ling dare? When the Tai Yi Patriarch had sacrificed Uncle Master He had severed all ties with Lin Ling. If he did not treat Lin Ling as one of his own, why should Lin Ling give him any face? The arrow blasted the ground, and a large number of elders were blasted into pieces of flesh and blood. There were countless casualties. Do you dare? Lin Ling wanted to tell the Tai Yi Patriarch whether he dared or not. Lin Ling, I'm going to kill you and clean up the Great Change Nebula Sect. The miserable state of the sect made the Tai Yi Patriarch's eyes turn red, and his body trembled. Shut up! However, Lin Ling shouted angrily. Tai Yi Patriarch, are you really the leader of a sect? You're indecisive, you're neither good nor bad, and you have no principles at all. Do you think that in my heart, you're a sect master? Let me tell you, you are nothing but a fart. Let's talk about the distant past. I fought with Zhang Wujia, and I won. According to what you said, strength determines everything. But at that time, you were selfish and still sided with Zhang Wujia. If you weren't afraid of becoming a laughingstock, I'm afraid you would have taught me a lesson long ago. Let's talk about the short term. In the face of a great enemy, you only know how to compromise with the enemy. Instead, you show off your might to your own people. If you don't take responsibility, can you still be considered a sect leader? How can the disciples of the sect trust you and tie their lives to the sect? Lin Ling's words were from the bottom of his heart. However, the people of the Grand Change Nebula sect secretly nodded their heads. Lin Ling's words had hit the nail on the head. You're talking nonsense. The Tai Yi Patriarch was even angrier now. Shut up. However, Lin Ling interrupted him again. I have to say that you are indecisive and will never achieve great things. Apart from these, you are also very stupid. First, you have already handed me over. These strong enemies want my life. How can you expect me to obey the sect's orders? Aren't you stupid? If we were in a different situation, would you obey the sect's orders too? Second, after you compromised with the strong enemies, you no longer have the final say here. You want to kill me, but I don't think you have the guts to do so. So, you still put on the airs of a sect leader in front of me. Aren't you stupid? You are even more stupid than stupid. I finally know why my master left. It turns out that you, as a sect leader, are simply not presentable. You can't do anything great. Sooner or later, the Grand Change Nebula sect will decline in your hands. Lin Ling's words were getting louder and louder. The Tai Yi Patriarch was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Ever since he became the sect leader of the Grand Change Nebula sect, he had never been scolded by a disciple like this. Xing Shiyun did not dare, Zhang Wujia did not dare, and none of the elders dared. However, the disciples of Xing Shiyun dared and scolded him happily. Compared to the anger of the Tai Yi Patriarch, the disciples of the Grand Change Nebula sect trembled and felt extremely happy. Lin Ling had said all the things that they wanted to say but did not dare to. It felt as if they were scolding the sect leader. After all, they had seen how Lin Ling had raised the flag for the Grand Change Nebula sect at Mount Heavenly King. Moreover, he was the #1 genius of the Grand Change Nebula sect. However, in the face of a strong enemy, the sect leader only valued himself. Coward, you'd better shut up. Lin Ling retracted his gaze from the Tai Yi Patriarch and walked down to the ground step by step. Although the Tai Yi Patriarch was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood, everything was as Lin Ling had said. In front of the big shots, he really could not do anything, nor did he dare to do anything. At this moment, he could only throw away all his dignity. However, he soon smiled coldly. Since Lin Ling was so arrogant, he could only wait to see how he would be killed. Junior Uncle He, I'm sorry to have wronged you. Lin Ling walked up to Junior Uncle He and slashed out with his sword. He severed the energy around Junior Uncle He and returned him his freedom. It's all right. Junior Uncle He's eyes were moist, but he shook his head immediately. You should leave this place and look for my master. Lin Ling said again. But Junior Uncle He knew that if he left, Lin Ling would be in danger. Junior Uncle He, you won't be of much help even if you stay. Instead, you will only distract Lin Ling. Why don't you leave first? Wangu Wuji said. In the end, Junior Uncle He hesitated for a long time before he left. No one cared about Junior Uncle He's departure. To the big shots of the 9 prefectures, Junior Uncle He was like an ant. The most important thing was the demonic sun. The people of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect looked at the departing Uncle Master He and then at the Great Simplicity Old Ancestor. They quietly compared the two and suddenly realized that if Lin Ling was the sect leader of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect, the Great Simplicity Nebula sect would be better off. At the very least, Lin Ling was someone who would take responsibility for his actions. At the moment of life and death, he would not abandon others for himself. All right, what do you have to say? After Junior Uncle He left, Lin Ling looked at the countless experts in the sky. Demonic Sun, please come with us. Golden Crow said with a smile after a long silence. What if I refuse? Lin Ling raised his head and said coldly. That's not up to you. Golden Crow was still smiling, but he also signaled to the experts around him with his eyes. Which one of you will go and catch him? Previously, he had seen Lin Ling's great calamity destroyer bow, so he was sure that Lin Ling was the demonic son. However, no matter how powerful Lin Ling was, he would not be able to escape today. After all, there were too many experts gathered today. However, if so many seniors went to catch Lin Ling and the others, it would be a blow to their prestige. Therefore, he asked the experts of the new Heavenly Court to take action. It was a good opportunity to raise the prestige of the new Heavenly Court, and let the people of the 9 prefectures know that the new Heavenly Court was not weaker than the old Heavenly Court. The demonic son? Many people in the new Heavenly Court were eager to take action. The demonic son was the person who destroyed the gods. If they could catch him, they would definitely become famous. They would not miss such an opportunity. First Heaven Sage Realm. Someone said sarcastically. Although they knew that the demonic son was very powerful, his realm was still there. Therefore, they thought that the demonic son's strength was limited. I'll do it. Let's do it. Chapter 33-34. Fighting against an 8th Heaven Sage. This person's talent was at the pinnacle of the desolate body. His foundation was solid and his cultivation level was extremely high. However, just as he walked out, Sakura and the others also joined the battle. They transformed into white bone giants and tangled with that expert. Both of them chose to engage in close combat, and their battle was earth-shattering. However, Sakura's white bones were extremely sturdy, and he wasn't afraid of that expert at all. Let's see how many of you can block my attack. Go! The new Heavenly Court wasn't worried at all. Lin Ling only had a few people on his side. No matter how strong they were limited. More and more people joined the battle and they were all in the Sage Realm. As though they were afraid of being mocked, the martial ancestor realm experts were watching coldly. Meng Lu and Wangu Wuji also joined the battle. When Wangu Ishiong saw this, he also ordered the elders of his family to join the battle. They had to capture Wangu Wuji and the others. The battle in the sky became even more intense and it caused the entire flame state to tremble. However, many people weren't moved. Instead, they looked at Lin Ling. They knew that Lin Ling was the most important person. Golden Crow, let me deal with such a weakling. At this moment, a burly man walked out from the Golden Crow's side. He was 5 meters tall and his whole body seemed to be made of metal. He looked majestic. After seeing him, the Golden Crow smiled and nodded. At the same time he reminded, be careful of his eyes and his dragon bow. These are his biggest trump cards. Golden Crow had used his heavenly eye to fight against Lin Ling's divine eye in the arena. As he had underestimated Lin Ling, he didn't gain the upper hand. Don't worry, senior brother Golden Crow. I will make sure that he can't fight back. The man smiled and nodded his head. However, his voice was as deep as thunder. Naturally, he had heard of the son of demon. However, strength was the only thing that mattered in this world. He was in the 8th heaven of the Sage Realm and he had the strength of a complete saint. His combat strength was so strong that he could defeat experts with the ultimate desolate body. In his opinion, Lin Ling was only a bang. He took a step forward and the sky exploded. The sound caused many people's hearts to tremble. It was a powerful force. 100 great bloodlines. 9 divine bloodlines. Some of the seniors frowned. They could see the man's talent. 9 divine bloodlines. 9 divine bloodlines were the strongest among the 100 bloodlines. He had once fought 3 great deities and he wasn't at a disadvantage. People with this kind of bloodline could attack and defend, and both of them had reached an extremely high level. Moreover, that man's cultivation was so much higher than the son of devils. Son of demon's son, I'll kill you. The man's voice was even more thunderous. His tall body seemed to have grown taller. At this moment, he lifted his black foot and stomped down hard on Lin Ling. With this stomp, a terrifying gravitational force erupted, forming layers of gravitational ripples that locked onto Lin Ling's body, making it impossible for him to escape. Boom! Lin Ling's eyes turned serious. 8th heaven of the Sage Realm. In terms of world essence, he is no weaker than me. Moreover, he has the strength of a complete saint. He has the power of heavens and earth. If I want to defeat him, I'll have to use the time and space divine steel and the calamity-destroying sun bow. However, there are so many experts in the new heavenly court. If I use my full strength on the first person, I'll definitely be at a disadvantage. Lin Ling didn't plan to kill his opponent immediately. Instead, he wanted to find an opportunity to deal a fatal blow. Currently, the outside world had a good understanding of his strength. However, there were a few things that they didn't know. First, his illusion god true inheritance. Second, his speed. Third, the limit of his physical strength. Speed was also Lin Ling's trump card. He had 190 world speed, which was unique among the Sage realm. You want to kill me? Let's see if you have the strength to do so. Lin Ling held his sword and charged forward. He didn't use the demonic sword stage. Instead, he relied on his 5 dantians and physical strength. His godly demon body had 1,200 world strength, which was comparable to the strength of a dantian. Moreover, his defense was extremely strong. This meant that the heavens and earth heavens were fighting against a 6th heaven of the Sage realm. Rumble! The heaven's foot and the tyrannical song sword confronted each other. Intense power surged in all directions. However, people saw that Lin Ling's sword couldn't cut open the heaven's foot. The heaven's foot was like a palm of steel. Moreover, it actually bent Lin Ling's huge sword. This situation was caused by the heaven's gravity stage. Moreover, it was the great perfection stage of gravity stage. Above his head, a powerful force attacked. Lin Ling knew that he couldn't meet force with force. Therefore, his left hand slapped the hilt of his sword. A powerful force formed and caused the sword to shoot up into the sky. Lin Ling erupted with 100 world speed and disappeared into the sky. The moment he left, the tyrannical song sword couldn't block the heaven's foot and was forcefully stomped down. Boom! The ground cracked open as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. Where do you think you're going? After the heaven's foot landed on the ground, the giant's palm suddenly enlarged and extended. He grabbed at Lin Ling fiercely. Moreover, the great perfection stage of gravity stage erupted from his palm as if he was trying to suck Lin Ling's body over. So powerful. This should be martial god Wen Tian's disciple. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Golden Crow was martial god Wen Tian's disciple and had the 9 great heavenly eyes of the universe. Moreover, the strength of the man he personally recognized didn't disappoint. He was simply suppressing the son of demon. Most importantly, although the giant looked burly, his speed and reaction were also extraordinary. Humph! Son of demon? If it weren't for the other members of the God-slaying alliance, he would be nothing but a fart. Golden Crow's lips curled into a cold smile. He was extremely confident in his junior brother because he knew that his junior brother wasn't a human. He was transformed from a reverse refinement metal rock. According to legends, this metal rock was once bathed in the blood of a god. After being refined by blood for 80,000 years, it finally transformed into a human. Lin Ling wouldn't even know how to write the word death if he fought with him. Sword come! Lin Ling roared. The sword that had been stomped to the ground earlier flew out and landed in Lin Ling's hand once again. This caused many people to exclaim in surprise. No wonder Lin Ling had abandoned his sword earlier. It turned out that he had borrowed the strength of the sword to temporarily block the foot's stomp and escape from danger. However, just as Lin Ling held the sword tightly, the giant palm grabbed at him. From afar, it looked like a huge wall. Moreover, it was a black wall. Most importantly, the wall produced a terrifying suction force that caused Lin Ling's retreating body to rush forward. He's been caught. Many people shook their heads. A 1st Heaven Sage fighting an 8th Heaven Sage was simply not a match. World-devouring beast. However, just as Lin Ling was getting closer and closer to the palm, Lin Ling's pupils suddenly constricted. His body disappeared and countless black sludge appeared and swallowed the giant palm. Looking from afar, the surface of the giant palm was covered with a layer of sludge. It was extremely mysterious. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. The Tai Yi ancestor was the same. This was the first time he had seen Lin Ling use the innate ability of the world-devouring beast. Chapter 33-35. A Fatal Strike. The man sensed that the power in his body was continuously disappearing. He let out a furious roar, shattering the clouds in the sky. The perfect gravity and gravitational force exploded, shattering all the black sludge. But soon, the sludge merged together once more. Moreover, in front of the sludge, a pitch-black man appeared. It was Lin Ling. Trash talent. Do you really think that you are immortal? The man sneered. After breaking the world-swallowing beast, his confidence increased. His body suddenly became bigger. He reached out his left hand and right hand. The scary thing was that his left hand had a strong gravitational force. It made the ground and the clouds sink. The gravitational force in his right hand caused the mountains and rivers of the Yen state to break and be sucked in. How terrifying! The crowd's hearts shuddered upon seeing this. That man's strength was most likely on par with a martial progenitor. Caught you! The man took a heavy step forward and pounced towards Lin Ling from the sky. He stretched out his left hand and the stairs of gravity appeared, locking down the area around Lin Ling. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and the stairs of suction erupted, forcefully sucking Lin Ling over. It was obvious that he had unleashed all of his power, and this power was truly terrifying. Is it really impossible to win if I don't use my trump card? Looking ahead, Lin Ling thought to himself. He gave up on retreating. He held his sword and led the realm-swallowing beast forward. From afar, in the dark mud, Lin Ling looked like he had come from the darkness. He held his giant sword and attacked forward. It was a kind of pitch black, as if it could even absorb light. What's the point? Seeing this, the giant sneered. His giant palm attacked with enough force to topple mountains and overturn seas. Swoosh! However, at this moment, the sound of waves could be heard. The mud in front of Xueqi started to disperse, as if ink was sprinkling down from the sky. It was terrifying. The ink also moved with Lin Ling, wanting to drown the giant. The giant also let out a furious roar, wanting to break through the darkness. This son of the devil is practically a world-swallowing beast. I have never seen such a talent before. The crowd was still shocked. However, they shook their heads when they thought about Lin Ling's opponent. Because Lin Ling's opponent was at the 8th Heaven Saint realm. The gap between their cultivation levels was too big. Lin Ling is actually so powerful. Jiang Wujie squinted his eyes, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Last time, when Lin Ling defeated him, he did not even use the realm-swallowing beast. This meant that he was not worthy of Lin Ling's attention. However, he quickly laughed again. So what if Lin Ling was powerful? He would still be shaken to death in the end. Crash! Under everyone's gaze, the two attacks collided violently. Darkness flooded the earth, while the giant's left hand controlled gravity, causing large amounts of mud to fall to the ground. His right hand controlled gravity, sweeping away all the darkness in front of him, clearing a path. Scram! He roared again and again. In your dreams! Scram! Lin Ling also roared. He controlled the realm-swallowing beast's body to swallow the giant. Gradually, the darkness drowned the giant as well. It was extremely terrifying because the giant could no longer be seen in the sky. Only endless darkness could be seen. Many people were shocked. Had Lin Ling finally succeeded in swallowing the giant? Scram! Scram! However, the darkness kept rolling, and angry roars could be heard from time to time. Obviously, the giant was resisting inside the realm-swallowing beast's body. 9 layers of attraction. An earth-shattering roar suddenly came from under the sky. Then, the earth of the Yen state roared and started to sink. The clouds in the sky and everything else were sucked into the earth. It was extremely terrifying. At the same time, circles of ripples spread out in the darkness. This was the great completion step of attraction. Boom! Then there was a roar, and the endless darkness was forced open. Sputtering in all directions, a burly figure walked out from within. Success! The sky became bright. Many people shouted excitedly. This was too exciting. This was definitely one of the most exciting battles in the Saint Realm. Lin Ling has lost. Then, many people looked at the sky. The son of the devil, who was only at the first level of the Saint Realm, could not win against Wen Tian Martial God's disciple. After all, Wen Tian Martial God was at the 8th level of the Saint Realm. The gap between their levels was too big. Demon Sword. However, while everyone was discussing, Lin Ling's expression remained calm in the sky. He raised the sword in his hand, and a blood-red light filled the air. Demonic chi surged out like a tidal wave, and it was deeply engraved in one's bones and heart. A bloody light appeared in the sky. It was ancient and distant, as if it came from the era of the gods. The entire Yen state suddenly turned bloody red. People could see that above the sky, a giant figure appeared. This figure was actually headless, but its fluttering robe gave people a feeling of fear. Ha! The giant did not expect that Lin Ling, who was struggling at death's door, still had such a trick up his sleeve. However, his mouth quickly cracked open. He could even break the realm-swallowing beast. Why would he be afraid of that stupid sword? Whoosh! The bloody sword arrived in an instant, cutting through the sky of the Yen state. What's the use of this? The giant let out a roar. Gravity and gravitational force combined to form a huge seal on his body, attempting to block the sword. Rumble! Boom! What was terrifying was that after the sword came, countless golden stars bloomed. It was like sparks were created when countless metals collided. In the end, fierce flames and thunder appeared. How is it? Countless people squinted their eyes. The battle in the sky was too dazzling. Ah! But in the next moment, the giant let out a loud cry of pain. His voice was so loud that it reached everyone's ears. After all the sparks gradually disappeared, everyone saw that Lin Ling's sword had pierced through the giant's chest. Moreover, he had pierced the center of the giant's chest. The strange thing was that this stab seemed to have a fatal effect. It had greatly reduced the giant's combat strength. Go to hell! The giant roared. His left and right hands clapped fiercely. He wanted to smash Lin Ling, who was in front of him, into a meat patty. This slap was like an endless river pressing down on Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling was still expressionless. He held the giant's sword in his hand. He did not retreat. Instead, he stabbed forward. Through the previous battle, he knew that the giant's weakness was in the center of his chest. If he wanted to defeat him without exposing his trump card, he had to attack this weak spot. This son of demon is crazy. He is not stopping. Before, he used the realm-swallowing beast to swallow the giant. It looked like he was fighting back. In fact, everything was for this sword. This sword is the real killer move. Plus, his level power has reached 70%. I just don't know what level it is. I feel that the demonic aura is very thick. Many great beings frowned as they spoke. The more they fought, the more they realized that Lin Ling was not ordinary. Swoosh! You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.